Okay, just give me a quick second, guys. Boom. Is it up? Yay! Give me a quick second, guys. Welcome to the pre-show. Not sure if Alex is going to be able to make it just yet. Romney, unfortunately, will not, just because he's dealing with some other stuff right now. So, hello, Sophia. So we've got Alex getting ready to come, hopefully soon, and then also we're going to be joined by Shay Tari tonight. So hopefully you guys are excited to see Shay again. But welcome to the pre-show, where we talk about really anything. You know, the show recording itself has its own... Well, thank you, Sophia. I appreciate that. The show has its own like set agenda that we talk about, but here we can shoot the shit because it's fun. And it looks like Shay may be able to join us a little early. Shay! Hi. Hello!
How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's a busy Friday, so I'm winding down, at least for the moment. By the way, love the Oblivion Keyblade behind you. That is amazing.
Thank you. We have like 3.
I hope you don't mind. I've got to bring my wife in here. She's got to see it.
And then there's another one. We have 3.
Oh, you have Oathkeeper as well. Okay, and then I saw the
third
Kingdom
one
Key.
is back there in the corner.
Okay, I give me a second. I've got to get her in here, because if she doesn't see it, she's going to get mad. She's going to be like, what? It's okay.
I also posted pictures on my Instagram, so.
Oh, good. Because, we need to get her on that stuff. So is that your setup in the back behind you where you do your place? Are you alive? That's place review and Andrea. Yeah, no, the back here is my setup, but this is not like the studio itself that you see. So like when I'm streaming, I'm on that couch, and me and Andrea are just kind of lounging on the couch. Okay, here she comes. Hun, you've got to see this. So Shay got something really cool for her apartment. And in the back, there's a Kingdom Key, too.
Seriously? Very cool.
She's going to be begging that I add that to the office now.
It's all my fiance's. He already had that.
Oh, my God. Okay, yeah, you're going to have to give major props to him, because she's going to be talking about this for a couple of days. She'd be like, that is so cool. We have to do that for the office. All right, well, there you go. Oh, my gosh. So, once again, welcome to the pre-show, Shay. This is actually something that we now do for the podcast, because we got enough people saying, like, we want to be able to talk to you about these stories, and because you don't necessarily cover them. So now we just do a little bit of a pre-show where there isn't an agenda. There isn't really anything. We just shoot the shit, and we have some fun with that. So, yeah, tonight we have a very interesting evening. I always feel like we say that when we have you on, but it just so happens the weeks we bring you on is when like stuff comes together and it's just a silly night. And so at that point, yeah, we have a guy who is suing Twitch literally for making him a sex addict.
I saw that. I was on YouTube, and I think Phil DeFranco covered that story.
Yep.
And me and my fiance was like, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
We were like, I was like, and plus he sued other people too and lost. And I was like, sounds like he has way too much time on his hands.
So we'll get into this in a minute, guys. But he has sued all the console makers for frivolous things. And he also, his most recent one was he sued Blizzard Entertainment for, what was it? It was like, deceptive mechanics or something like that. And the reason he cited it was because of walking in the game. And they actually tried to bring on celebrities onto that lawsuit, and that one also got kicked out.
Oh my god, it's just ridiculous because I was seeing all of that, and I looked at my fiance. I was like, on my Twitch, they never.
Have you actually seen the court document though?
No.
Oh, we're gonna be going over that tonight.
Oh my god!
Because he actually explains how Twitch did this. And
they said gender or something, like if you're
what was
male,
that?
Isn't like, I think like something I heard was like if you're male, they recommend more female streamers to you.
Well, it's in the algorithm. It's not necessarily like Twitch itself does it. It's just unfortunately, most of the people who watch on Twitch are male, and they're usually in the demographic of like 16 to I want to say 25 or 30. And unfortunately, you know, teenage boys, they like to watch girls. And so at that point, I don't know how you feel about this term, but the booby streamers, they get a lot of that audience.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I looked at my fiance, I was like, I never get recommended to watch female streamers unless I'm actively looking for them, which I'm usually not. I mean, the only streamers I like really watch on Twitch, as far as like a lot of times when they go live, is like a lot of the Pokemon Go streamers, and only because they're streaming now more because of like quarantine where we are, because both of them are in California.
So that makes sense. Like, so like
that's it. And like one of my friends, like,
so at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if like when Snap comes out, you get recommended Pokemon Snap streams.
Yeah,
because that'd happen.
More like, I can recommend more Pokemon streams just because of based on what I watch.
When I started on Twitch, like officially started messing around with the channel, the first person I followed was Maximilian Dude. He's a fighting game commentator. And so at that point, all the stuff I ever got recommended was additional, like either fighting game players themselves or commentators. And so I'd get those streams recommended. But just for the hell of it, like I've tested this algorithm a few times. If you just start a brand new account and like you state you're, 18, 17, something like that, the first couple of things that'll come up, Pokimane. She's not a booby streamer, but she's got like a lot of her followers are into how she looks and everything like that. Miss Sparkles, I think, was the other one. She's a legit booby streamer. And then also, I did see that body painting was starting to take over in the algorithm a little bit, but I think with the new Twitch guidelines, that will stop. Because I don't know if you heard about the new attire guidelines. But yeah, they have pretty much, not entirely put a kibosh on body painting, but they have restricted it a lot.
Not surprising.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the problem with it, is that, yeah, it's cool that you're making your body look like Wonder Woman, okay?
But you're naked.
Yeah, pretty much. You have, like, the little nipple pasties, and that supposedly is enough. But I kid you not when I say this, Shay, I know guys who stream, and because they're drunk or whatever, they take the shirt off, and they are banned for 30 days for improper clothing. And I'm like, okay, so you're okay with women doing that, but you're not okay with guys doing that? That's weird. And so at that point, it's just like, okay, let's level out this playing field. And I know that some of the more popular streamers were pissed off about that, but I mean, that's kind of the issue. And that's one of those things Twitch has to do to cover their ass, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sophia has actually sent a few things. Let's get into those really quick. I was just wondering if you are a fan of Devil May Cry and Yakuza. I'm guessing he's asking you that, or she's asking you that.
Me? Not really. I've heard of Devil May Cry, but I've never like played it or like seen it or watched it. I'm sorry.
Let me just ask this honestly. Crap. I'm trying to think of like some legit 80s schlock material. Have you ever watched like an 80s schlock movie, like some of the Stallone movies that came out around that time, or the Schwarzenegger movies?
Definitely, like probably Schwarzenegger.
Devil May Cry is basically that. It's 80s schlock and cheese at its finest, and that's why I recommend it to people, because Like if they've ever played a game like Bayonetta,
Mm-hmm.
that's the schlock turned up to 11. And so at that point, like that's what you expect from Devil May Cry. So like I've made it my personal goal. Like people need to see Devil May Cry if for no other reason than the schlocky acting and the schlocky story. And so maybe we'll have to work something out where we can get you on Discord and I'll stream it again. I don't care. I love Devil May Cry.
I will totally watch it because
I've
heard a lot about it.
Yakuza, I've already kind of said on streams, I'm not a fan. I've never played any of them. Sophia's been trying to convince me very hard to play with my wife, and what made that even better is that Sophia admitted later that she hadn't even played Yakuza either. So now I tease Sophia about it. Not because I hate Sophia. I tease her because it's just like, wait. You hammered me for like 2 months to play Yakuza. So I'm guessing like you're a fan. And no, you're not a fan. You just want to see somebody play it. Okay. Young YouTube. And don't forget, he also did Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Online Warriors. Young does he have a voice in UV? Nah, I don't think he has one. UMVC3? I don't think so. I think he's recent. I think he's been doing voice acting recently. So, I mean, if you've got the casting for it, then feel free to showcase it. But anyway, okay, so we're caught up with the chat, so to speak, and then and we're still letting people gather. We also have AT&T is looking to sell Warner Interactive, and already a buyer has been found for NetherRealm Studios. So I don't know if you knew that included that. Warner Interactive owned NetherRealm, so at that point, the Mortal Kombat games are no longer. Like this is actually, I hate to say this, guys. This is the death knell for Injustice, because unless they work out some separate deal, that was their access, is that they were part of Warner Interactive, so they could do Injustice. Now they have to work additionally on it, but I'll keep the potential buyer out of it. We also have to talk about Pokemon Snap, because enough people have screamed at me. And I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint people because, confession, I'm not a fan of Pokemon Snap. But that's just... No, go ahead.
I think the reason why I liked it is I was Pokemon Snap came out 1999, I think?
Yeah, something like that, 98, 99.
Yeah, so I was in that demographic because I was 8 or 9 years old when Pokemon Snap came out. So for me, I liked it, but it was an easy concept game.
Yes.
So it was very it was very easy to get into it. It was really easy to beat. Mm-hmm. It was a game where just no real skill was involved, but it did have my brother and I buying the cheat book to figure out how to get to Mew.
Yeah, my wife and Alex did that too. And that's fine. That's who it's catering to. One of the reasons I don't like Snap is because by the time I got to Pokemon, I was 16, 17. And at that point, I had played way more complex games than that. I'd played rail shooters that had more concept to them than Snap. And so it's not that Snap is a bad game. It's that it bored me to tears.
Yeah, I think I was just in that demographic when it had came out. Because I didn't get into Pokemon till I was around 8 or 9 years old. So for me, I was literally around that demographic of that game coming out. So I enjoyed it.
I don't know. Did you ever play? These were Wii games. Did you ever play Endless Ocean?
No, I never had I did have a Wii, but I didn't play it as much as I thought I would. But I didn't have the Wii U. I just had the original Wii.
Oh, no, these were on the original Wii. But,
okay, yeah.
Endless Ocean, in my opinion, was a prototype to bring Snap back, because it was basically you go underwater and to really relaxing tones, you take pictures of the aquatic life. And so I'm like, okay, that's them testing the waters to see, or game companies testing the waters to see if they can do Snap. And I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was something that should happen because Snap has a following. It's just not with me.
Yeah, I'm excited it's coming back, but I have some disappointments already just based off of what I've already seen, and it's
Okay.
not like what I would have hoped they would have done with it
Okay.
nowadays. Yeah.
Okay, I want to know more, but I want you to keep that for the podcast
Okay.
because I'm legitimately curious because I haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah.
I know my wife will kill me for that, but because
Yeah,
she watches at least for a little bit. But no, I haven't seen the trailer. I'm not interested.
I saw the trailer. It doesn't. I'll still play it, but
Okay, and then Sophia has another question for you. When is your birthday, Phantom Kingdom Hearts, and what is your zodiac sign? I don't know what the Phantom Kingdom Hearts is about, but see, here's the thing. I love Sophia, but Sophia is working off of a mic to be able to get the words out. So we get random stuff in there, and it's hard to discern like what is actually being said and what isn't. That's one of the things I don't like about that kind of feature. But yeah, so your birthday and your zodiac sign, if you feel comfortable sharing that.
Yeah. So my birthday is September 2nd, and I'm a Virgo. Yeah.
That's a first for me.
Yeah?
Actually, no, never mind. Alex is a Virgo, I think, because he's in September too. I don't know. I just found that out, or I just found I find that interesting. I learn something new all the time. Maximilian Dude's husband doing Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Oh yeah, well, I mean well, first of all, husband. He's married, and they're gonna have a girl very soon. But no, yeah, he's very well known for UMVC3. And then she's also asking if you know Nico B, Shay. Mm-hmm. You know Nico B? Okay, cool.
I don't think so. No,
he's a Let's Player / streamer.
Oh,
so
no, I don't think I've seen him.
I think Sophia's bringing it up because Andrea and me became a fan of Nico B because of his Kingdom Hearts playthroughs. And so at that point, when we were getting excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, we were watching a lot of it.
I know that I think for me, like, I haven't seen that streamer. The most gameplay I've seen of Kingdom Hearts is when my fiance has played it.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I've only ever played the first Kingdom Hearts that was on PlayStation.
Sure.
And like I told him, I couldn't get off the island of the very first scene. And I just got lost. But all I know is when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, my fiance made sure to take off of work and was like, I'm going to beat this game before I go back. And it's now June and he still hasn't beat the game because he hasn't been keeping up with playing it.
Dude,
so,
in order for us to do it, like we had to play at midnight, actually no, starting at like 10 o'clock because we had to put the girls to bed and then cruise through as much of it as we could before we could go to bed. And at that time we were also playing Resident Evil 2 Remake. So like we were putting like 2-3 hours into each game. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Like that week and a half was kind of hard because we actually beat Kingdom Hearts 3 before 2 Remake. And oh jeez. That was
I think like my fiance said he's trying to do all these side quests first to make this particular Keyblade. So that's what he's doing first. But
Ultimate Weapon. Yeah.
That's what he's doing. And so like me and him have both said that I think now that we're getting older, we're not losing interest in games faster. It's like we don't beat games. Like we buy them and then like we don't finish them and then we're like, I should really beat this game. Like I should really like play this more. Like we bought Sword and Shield and both me and him like have not even finished it.
Yep.
But now we're both stuck on Animal Crossing and that's all that we've been playing.
Dude, the same thing happened for us too. Is like granted, we were both in college at the time, and so you didn't have a whole lot of time to play games. You were studying, you were doing tests, and stuff like that. So we had like this tremendous like pile of games that we had never gone through. And what I find funny is that when we got married, the pile got a little less down, but it also kind of went back up too. We had kids and it just skyrocketed. Now we have so many games that we haven't played that we want to get to, and we have no time to be able to do it. some of which are actually unopened. Like we saw the game and we're like, we gotta get that. We've got to play it. And then we get it, and it's just like, oh, crap, we have no time to play it.
Ours are opened, is we just, like, forget to play it just because life, work, and then just, you know, trying to live. And then sometimes we just forget about it, and then we'll start playing it again later.
It's one of those things where, like, you know, life takes a precedent, and unfortunately that means that you don't get to be entertained for a little bit. And we are totally neglecting Romney and Alex, who are just barely joining us. Romney, like, Romney's just sitting there and prepping. Like, that's what he does.
Yep.
All right. So unfortunately, like, a lot of these questions are mostly for Shay, because I don't think Sophia's seen Shay. Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe in a few podcasts here and there. Last things that we also do have, we have a Billy Mitchell update. Probably the last one, because it doesn't seem like anything can get more resolved than this. And then we also have Mixer is officially going down. Mixer's done. Poor Ninja. Ninja had that exclusive deal, and it fell through.
He'll be all right.
He'll be all right. But it's just one of those things that I find funny, like, you put your lot in with Mixer, and then Mixer has to call you up and go, yeah, we can't pay you anymore. What?
They paid him. They bought out his contract.
Yeah, they bought out his contract.
Mixer did, or?
I think Mixer did, because Facebook offered him like twice the amount, and he said no.
Okay, so Mixer bought out,
and then Mixer bought him out his contract. He'll probably go back to Twitch.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would guess that Twitch is where he's going to go. I know that PewDiePie worked out the YouTube deal, but I don't think YouTube's looking to get anybody else. And then we also have some stuff from Arcade 1UP, and this has actually been thrown to the side for a couple of months, where I guess that they're doing a lot of interesting new cabinets this year that a friend of the podcast actually wanted us to discuss it, and it actually sounds really cool, the ideas that they're getting ready to pump out. So I'm very excited. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to go over. Given that we got Shay on here, don't worry about recording. Well, actually, Romney, if you want to still record, go ahead and do it, because I'm going to try and figure out a way to be able to get your audio in, because unfortunately he's still working off of a headset mic, and so at that point, like, if I can get the cleaner audio from his mic, then I'm going to do it as best as I can. And then also, do you both have suggestions for tonight?
Yes.
Cool.
Well, I've been sitting on mine for the past few weeks.
Cool. Yes, and then crap hit the fan, and yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks in general. Okay, so I think we are ready to go if you guys are.
Yep.
All right.
Alex?
Sound speed.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. So let's get recording. Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News Reviews and Opinions, the podcast where we talk the week's events in Geek for Friday night, June 26th, 2020. We are almost halfway. Well, actually, now we're a little bit over halfway through this year. And I think everybody's in agreement when we all say, can we just be done? Can we be over? Can we just, like, fast forward the next 6 months and like, I feel really bad for everybody else, because this was me last year. Like, can 2019 please be over? And now it's just like everybody, and I'm going, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. But of course, I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drek.
Problem is asking.
Oh, wow. There's a little bit of a lag on your camera there, Romney.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see. It could be an issue with my VPN because it tends to wig out.
Yeah, because like you talked in my ears and you're just sitting there going. I'm like, okay, either Romney's mastered ventriloquism, or let me go ahead and start that up again, shall I? I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drek. I hope everybody's had an awesome week thus far. I know that things have been very difficult for people. And with me tonight, we have our usual panel of fellow geeks, fellow YouTubers, fellow content creators, fellow awesome guys in general. we have Alex the Shadow Blazer joining us from out of the shadows, and apparently as a woman who's out in a flower field. What the heck is that avatar, Alex?
It's not in a flower field. She's in the middle of the city.
Okay.
So,
I can barely tell because it's so tiny.
Yeah, unfortunately, Discord doesn't let him go any bigger, so that's about as good as it's gonna get.
Pretty much. All right, how you doing, Alex?
Well, doing pretty good, I guess. Just, a long week of working and getting stuff done.
Now we're kind of getting back into that, so
yeah.
Just the thing we got to do. We also have Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, of From the Shelf, Rhapsody in Cinema, Martial March, Monster Clash, and whatever other movie magic he just decides to create one day. Stephen Romney, how you doing?
Well, doing all right. And as for that movie magic, well, it might not happen in the same way this year, mostly because my workplace started giving me a whole bunch of extra work that's been taking up what little time I have. On the upside, yay, I get more work. Downside, I don't get the $600.
I was actually going to say, like, because when you told me about that, I'm like, did they promote you or something? Or are they just handing you more work?
Good question.
I love those promotion, not promotions. Those happen a lot. But nonetheless, we are happy to have you here. And with us also tonight is... Oh my gosh, we love bringing her on. She is amazing. She is the host of Shay Tari, of Motivational Monday, of Geeky News Week. I can't remember what the Wednesday video is off the top of my head. For some reason, I'm having a brain fart. Shay Tari, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good. Can't complain. Pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. I here's the thing. Like, I do feel bad that everybody's 2020 is just, like, weird as crap. But at the same time, I'm also happy that things are working out for a lot of people, too. Because people are getting back to work. I can already see that Shay has some furniture. I know that a few people were asking, did Shay ever get her furniture? Yeah, she did. It's eventual. It's going to happen. And as you guys can see, her husband-to-be is rocking the Kingdom Hearts behind her. So we're very happy about that. Oh, and also there's Sailor Moon up there. I didn't even notice the Funko Pops until now, but...
We're all there.
There you go. All right, so we have the panel introduced. Let's go ahead and get into the stories of the week. And we had another one. This one had to be the top story of the night because it was not only requested by a listener, but there is some straight up silliness in this whole story. And I don't plan it for Shay. Like, I don't plan to have these really silly stories. It's just for some reason when we get her on the podcast, we have at least one that makes you go, what? And so we have to cover it because it's amazing. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you guys haven't heard already, Twitch might have an incoming problem as they are being sued for $25 million by a guy by the name of Eric Estavillo. And he is suing them for making him a sex addict. The headline itself is not the thing you should laugh at. In fact, the reaction that you're getting from both Shay and Romney, that's how you should react. Why am I not reacting that way? Because, friends, I have read the legal document. And it's a doozy. So, let's paint this story, because I have to tell this, man. And I apologize for people in advance. We might get a little gross with this, but we kind of have to explain his part of the story. So, in his court document, he is suing Twitch for making him a sex addict. Basically, he is citing that when COVID happened, and he got stuck in his apartment, he then started to have a bit of cabin fever, like all of us did. Except while we were handling it productively, he decided to go on Twitch and watch what are affectionately called booby streamers. For those who don't know what a booby streamer is, it's basically a girl streamer who aims the camera down at her cleavage, wears something very revealing, and plays games. And in some cases, I guess it's part of the booby streamer deal to suck at games, even though I've seen like 50-50 discussion on that. Because people like to see them fail so that, the boobs will bounce. I don't know how that works, but somebody had to correct me on that for some reason. I don't know if I ever wanted to know that. But this guy, well, he started watching the booby streamers, and he never stopped watching the booby streamers. And unfortunately, it escalated to the point where he had to get some frustration out. There are some things I'm not willing to say on the podcast, but he had to get some frustrations out, and it became kind of a compulsory habit. So much so that it is creating problems for him as he begins to start up work. At least I hope he's starting up work. So much so that he now has an infection on his penis. One that he has to apply Neosporin every day. Otherwise, he has to deal with necrosis. That's something you never, ever want to hear, especially for stuff like that. He is also stating that they wrecked his eyes because he has been constantly staring at a UV monitor for said bad habit. But here's the kicker. He also wishes to sue for damages to his own property. During one of his sessions, I have to actually read this from the court document itself. He ejaculated onto his monitor, which short-circuited the monitor, starting a small fire, which then led to blacking out his entire apartment. I'm sorry that I had to say the word, but there's no other way to say it. So he's also suing for damages that he basically created on his own property. But no, Twitch made him a sex addict. And what makes this even better, this is not his first time doing lawsuits like this. In fact, as Shay eloquently pointed out in the pre-show, for YouTube only, he has sued Microsoft, he has sued Sony, he has sued Nintendo, and most recently, he has sued Blizzard Entertainment. This guy has a record of frivolous lawsuits, all of which get thrown out pretty easily. So with that being said, first of all, I'm going to apologize for my panel for having to say those words, but there's no other way to say it without having to explain that story, because, yeah, like, his problem got so bad, he started a small fire in his apartment. That's an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to the panel here, starting with our, I don't think he volunteered for this, but our legal analyst, Stephen Romney, of part of which people wanted to ask you about the other lawsuits. I tried to track down what they were about. I could not find them, but give us your legal opinion on this guy. Like, does he have any kind of, type of, for lack of a better term, leg to stand on in court?
Well, first let me explain. Although I am considered the legal analyst, I am not officially a lawyer, nor am I certified by the bar. That's just to make sure that we don't give any impression that I can actually give legal advice. In which case, if you're going to this podcast for legal advice, you're already screwed. Now, suffice it to say, the short answer is no, he doesn't have a case, and there already is a precedent for cases like this. It's like the famous McDonald's lawsuit where people sued McDonald's because the food made them fat.
Yes.
Nobody is forcing people to go into the restaurant and eat the food that makes you fat. It's the same idea here, is that he chose to go on Twitch, he chose to indulge in that habit, ergo, it's his own personal choice. Twitch and the streamers are not liable for his own bad decisions.
And here's the thing also, and I think this needs to be pointed out, because here's the thing. Okay, booby streamers exist. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They exist. But here's the problem that I have a little bit of an issue with. I think it's easier to do with body painting, but with streaming, can we call this sexual entertainment? Because the booby streamer is off in a corner of the video, and the bigger portion is gameplay. So at that point, I mean, unless there's a sex scene happening in the game, I don't think you can call that sexual content.
To that, I would say this.
Or rather, sexually explicit content is what I should say.
Well, and again, to that, I would simply say this. Anyone who is determined enough will find a way. There's no other way around it. Like, anyone will find a way to make anything sexy, even if it was never intended to be,
yes,
if they are that determined. I mean, there's the famous Family Guy scene where they have the videotape of the Statue of Liberty, and Peter says, "We'll drink it until she's hot."
Well, and I this is a bad comparison, but I know that this happened to my wife the second we started streaming. I'm pretty sure at some point or another, Shay, in your comment section, you get questions like that. I think it's just an inevitability that happens.
Yeah.
I've even heard of it happening to guys on YouTube. Like, we want to know, strangely enough, the size of underwear that you wear and stuff like that. And it's just like, ugh. Okay.
Yeah, sadly, some people get really, really, really obsessed. Just look at the crap that happened in the Eddsworld fandom.
Sure.
For a good example of how bad things can get. And
but
so
I think another thing that has actually made this a little bit worse, I mean, I think we all have to agree on this. COVID has created a lot of cabin fever, and some people are handling it well, and some aren't. Eric Estavillo, I'm going to say, is a perfect example of somebody who didn't. But yeah, you can only imagine that some of this is actually happening.
Yeah, but that kind of goes into the larger issue, and this is a major debate when it comes to things like sex addiction or addiction in general, where you've got some people who believe the addiction is in and of itself is a disease, but you also have the major school of thought, and it's a school of thought that I myself subscribe to due to my own experiences undergoing mental health treatment, is that addiction is a symptom of a much larger underlying problem. And even the article itself mentions, as part of his lawsuit, he argues saying that he can't pick another hobby because, and literally as it says here, the plaintiff's various ailments include depression, agoraphobia, Crohn's disease, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, along with sex addiction. Now, whether or not those are actual ailments that Estavillo suffers from, that we can't really say because, again, we don't know him personally. And there are also some cases where he may have these diseases, he might not. Again, we don't know.
Yeah.
But it's one of those cases where, hey, the sex addiction is merely a symptom of a larger problem, and considering that he's mentioned obsessive-compulsive disorder, depression, and agoraphobia, it's one of those cases where either best case scenario, he has these conditions and is using them as justification for his own bad behavior, which is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Or worst case scenario, he is making up these conditions in a bid to play for sympathy, which probably won't
Which
work.
is something
Again,
we have to consider at this point, because for all we know, with these other lawsuits, that's exactly what he was trying to do there too.
Yeah, and especially looking at the exact phrasing with things like twisted programming and netcode, yeah, it's very much one of those cases where this is someone who clearly doesn't want to take responsibility for their own actions and basically is lashing out at the rest of the world as a result, which is sadly all too common. And
Yeah.
again, there are clear precedents for a lawsuit like this. Again, the McDonald's lawsuit is only the most well-known example I can think of. I'm sure there have been other similar precedents set in a courtroom, especially considering that this news story is also coming out of, although it's happening in California, it's being reported by an Australian news site. That could also skew the perspective of the way it was originally written. Apparently, it's being reposted from the New York Post. So it's one of those cases where, to answer the initial question, no, he doesn't really have a case, and there already is a precedent set that makes it clear he doesn't have a case. And given that he's filed a lot of these other lawsuits, it's not going to go anywhere.
No, and actually, I'm looking through this legal document. I don't know if I don't know if Romney has been able to peruse this yet, but a lot of the accusing streamers that he is saying that did this to him, a few of them I know for a fact, just because I've been watching a lot of the COVID coverage. A lot of these people are like models that are now doing Instagram model pictures as well as doing streams on Twitter. And so I'm finding it funny that, a lot of the stuff like that he's putting up, it's viable because like these are model-esque pictures that are showing up. But then he also has people like Alinity, and Alinity's just stupid as far as I'm concerned. She has had way too many incidents that I can't, either she's really crafty or she's really, really stupid. And I'm going to go with stupid.
But at the same time, even if this guy was suing an actual porn site, he still wouldn't even have a case. Because again, he chose to indulge in the content. He chose to partake in the behavior. It's his own damn fault.
Pretty much. Shay, let's actually go to you next. Like, what's your take on this situation here? I mean, granted, this is probably also a little uncomfortable, but this is also just a laughable situation.
Well, I think it also has to be said that they said that he follows 736 streamers and they're all girls.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're only following girls, then the Twitch algorithm will probably only recommend you more females based off of what you already like or what you already indulge in. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of like if he tried to sue a porn site, like it just wouldn't stand up to anything because honestly, I would love to be a judge on this case. I would be like, then why? Like, what? Like, I would just have to ask him the question of just like, then why are you following all of these girls then? You're continuing to indulge in something that you know is a problem. And then I guess, and then just regarding with Twitch in general and like how he's asking for all these people to be banned immediately and so on and so forth. And in my mind, it's kind of like, first of all, Twitch would have to figure out where in their rules on their site of what is considered sexually explicit because they can phrase it however they want to phrase it. And then the people on Twitch can decide whether they agree or disagree with it. And if these Twitch streamers have a big following and they're generating a lot of money for Twitch in general, they might let them slide just a little bit because that's extra money for them. But also, just get an OnlyFans. Like that's what a lot of people are now doing anyway. Just pay for it.
Actually,
like,
that's about what I was going to bring up. Is what's funny is a lot of these streamers now have an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen people making complaints that are supposedly within Twitch that Twitch the Twitch staff are not happy that these streamers have OnlyFans accounts because then at that point, like these people aren't subscribing on Twitch anymore. They're paying their money towards OnlyFans.
But then will that cause Twitch to continue to lessen what is considered sexually explicit so that they can keep those fans on their site and not have them go to OnlyFans? Because why they do it is because there's certain stuff you can't have on Twitch. So it's just like, well, I'm going to do an OnlyFans so I can post stuff that's more explicit than what you can get on here and make people pay for it. So they're making double. They're making money from OnlyFans and Twitch.
Well, and actually, what I was going to point out to you is let's just say for the sake of argument, like this guy wins and they put up the policy of like women cannot wear they basically have to walk around in Sherpas, for lack of a better term. They have to do that or burkas all day. Twitch's audience is going to go away because they're not going to be interested in it, and all those people are the people who are dedicated to it are going to be going to OnlyFans, and then the streamers are going to look at this and go, "This isn't a viable market anymore, and we have to go somewhere else." So
yeah, but then also it's also kind of wondering, like you also have to wonder like why a lot of girls choose to be scantily clad while gaming and then doing it terribly, because in a lot of ways, just like, you know, first of all, if you're a girl gaming in the first place, most people don't think, even now in 2020, that a lot of girls game, and if they do game, they're not very good. So it's kind of like playing in a lot of ways into that stereotype, and then also like in a lot of ways fulfilling a lot of guys' fantasies of like a hot girl playing a game and then losing. And so it's like, that's the reason why probably a lot of girls feel that the only way they're going to get lots of views is if they're scantily clad. Because let's be honest, it's even on the YouTube algorithm. Like if you're a girl posting on YouTube and you're hot and you're wearing less and less clothes, you're going to get a lot of views because people are going to want to view more and more of your content. Just like on Instagram, if you're wearing less clothes on Instagram and you take a picture, you'll get more likes compared to you being in a long sleeve shirt and jeans and tennis shoes and taking a picture, because people want to see what your body looks like. So that's why the girls are doing it. Yeah. So if that's the case, then try and change that narrative of saying, well, then push the girls that aren't doing this onto the site then, so that it changed that narrative of like, I need to wear less clothes so that I can get views. Yeah,
and I don't know if you'd ever change that narrative, because I mean, I've said it numerous times, sex sells. It works, bottom line. You can't necessarily ever take that away. But at that point, like the argument I want to aim more towards is, I mean, is this sexualized content? Because again, if said streamer was in bra and panties playing a game, I could totally acknowledge that. But in a lot of cases, we're just talking about very low-cut shirts that just so and I get it, they're rigging the camera to look right there, but it's very difficult for me to make that claim because they are fairly clothed. Like if you were to start streaming right here and now, Shay, given what you are wearing, we couldn't make that distinction. And even if you were wearing something a little bit lower cut, you couldn't make that distinction because you're not overtly trying to point towards your sexuality. Somebody coming out in a bikini top, they're trying to overtly do it. Or if they're coming out in cosplay or something like that. And so it's already like an argument that I just don't see standing at all in a court environment.
I think that would be at that point just up to Twitch, because Twitch, of course, just like any social media site, has policies in place where if people are watching someone's content, like just to moderate it and just to make sure it's okay before they particularly ban that person or say they're not getting monetization or whatever, there's rules. There's already those regulations in place. So Twitch might have regulations regarding what they consider sexually explicit, and they have people that monitor that probably, but Twitch's definition probably of sexually explicit may not be considered that. And that's probably why it's still like allowed to continue and go on.
Yeah.
Whereas like another platform might consider that sexually explicit and then cut it and say, no, you're not allowed to do this. And that's once again just up to Twitch's policies and where they stand on that. And if they change it, then
which is funny because Twitch just barely changed their attire guidelines to address a lot of this stuff. And I mean, granted, you are still seeing a lot of streamers that are adapting to it or in defiance of it and thus getting ready to be punished. I think it's supposed to be implemented like as of July or August, one of the two. So you're already seeing kind of that, but I think they've already kind of addressed it. If you're doing like what Miss Sparkles does, where it's just a low cut shirt, that's fine. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. But if you're coming out in like a freaking bikini, sorry, that's where you lose. Alex, we've been kind of over you a little bit. What's your take on this situation?
I think it's a pretty ridiculous lawsuit overall. I don't think it stands a snowball's chance in court.
Absolutely not. Actually, you know what? It's funny. I was laughing at Shay for wanting to be the judge in the courtroom. I want to see that. But here's the bottom line. I just want to be a fly on the wall in the courtroom just to see this unfold. I kind of hope somebody records it for YouTube because this would be one of the silliest lawsuits that ever stepped before the judge. And even a California judge would be pissed at this.
I want to be a juror. This is the one time I would want them to pull me for jury duty and put me on a case because I'd be like,
You're going to the mailbox. Please let me be a juror. Please let me be a juror. Please let me be a juror. I'll admit this is one of those cases where, but at the same time, like you do your verdict, and then everybody's like, "Wait, did you actually do jury duty?" Yeah. What was your case? I'd rather not.
This guy sued Twitch for $25 million.
Yeah, there you go. This guy sued, but why did he sue? I'd rather not say. So
you don't want to know.
pretty much, yeah.
Have we mentioned he's representing himself in this case?
Oh, thank you. I wanted to mention this too. Yes, Eric Estavillo is representing himself.
He's gonna lose.
So it's doomed. I hate to quote Bender here, but he's doomed.
I mean, unless he pulls like a Catch Me If You Can and he completely demolishes this, like.
I didn't even think Catch Me If You Can was going to get referred here.
I mean, if he wins, if he was to win, like, I would be like, 2020 can't get any crazier. If he wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, 2020 has gotten crazy, but like.
Absolutely. It would, that would be like, at that point, I would look at all of you in the eye and go, I'm done. I want a fast forward button.
At that point, anybody would be suing YouTube for the amount of time that they done spent on there and should have been more productive. I could see a student suing YouTube and saying, I got bad grades because of YouTube.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have to limit it to the YouTube. I remember that when Google did their Pac-Man doodle, the amount of work hours lost because people were playing the Pac-Man doodle. That alone could be a basis for such a lawsuit if this lawsuit actually.
Oh, dude, and it wouldn't just be to the video platforms. Facebook would be sued by office workers because it made them addicted to social media.
No, people would be suing Niantic for Pokemon Go because people are now playing it all the time.
You made me go out and walk, Niantic! How dare you!
They'll be suing them because they couldn't catch a Pokemon and it ran away.
Let's sue all the makers of the various internet browsers out there just for the fact that they let us access porn.
Oh my gosh!
That
People
means
would try.
people would try to sue Pornhub.
Yeah, no,
People
people
would. Try
would.
to sue Pornhub. Oh my god!
And if he won, then they would win, and that means Pornhub goes away, and then the entire internet gets mad because there's no longer any porn on the internet.
No,
So,
if someone decides to sue Pornhub, can they just make it a class action lawsuit? So
yes, absolutely. I guarantee you there's a bunch of people that would love to be able to do a class action against Pornhub or any of the other porn sites.
The downside is that if they do a class action lawsuit against Pornhub, that means they would have to openly admit that they actively consume porn, and that's probably what's stopping such lawsuits.
Probably.
This dude has no shame. This dude's suing Twitch.
I was gonna say, yeah, he has no shame, and frankly, I've played online games with people who have unabashedly said, you know what, I've watched porn. I've seen at least a little bit of porn. Or like to use the meme, the internet is for porn. So
Yeah.
That's not really, not really a meme. That's technically a song from
yeah,
Avenue
it's a song.
Q,
Sorry.
But I do wish, or if he wins, I feel like I will be one of the many people that will then say, why didn't you make this a class action lawsuit so we can all have a piece of this money? Because, like, come on, you won.
Pretty much. Like, I could even see this getting, like, branched into channels like Alinity. Just like, you made me a sex addict by watching your dog. Well, I'm not gonna finish that sentence because I'm afraid of finishing that sentence.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've already been demonetized enough.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, I think that podcast got demonetized because of the stuff we were bringing up with Alinity. So yeah, thanks Alinity. You wrecked it for us. Although I would love to have a bunch of people, because I don't know if you guys have been following the drama between Pokimane and It's a Gundam. It would actually be hilarious if It's a Gundam's fans to go out and say that they're all sex addicts and Pokimane was the one that made them a sex addict.
Oh my god.
That would be It's a Gundam's revenge right there. I'm not saying he deserves revenge or anything like that. I looked at the situation. I'm like, this is dumb. This is absolutely dumb.
God.
This
I
is
can
high
see
school.
how this can snowball.
Yeah.
Like, people will then sue people can sue a celebrity.
Yep.
You're so hot, you caused me to be a sex addict. Like, what?
I feel like this happened.
Oh no, it gets worse than that, Shay. Honestly, I don't think he would honestly do this, but Alex could sue you because you're a girl and therefore made him a sex addict. It didn't.
Oh my
he doesn't
God.
He wouldn't even need to prove it. He would just need to say, "You're a girl. You have boobs. Ergo."
This is why legal precedent is important.
Yes.
Fortunately, there is one.
Does mean people can sue anime companies too?
Oh yeah, anime would be one of the first things to go.
Well, I mean, the UN literally did try to ban anime, lest
They
we
did.
forget, so
They did,
True.
but yeah,
my
I didn't literally try to do that.
I know Australia did.
Yeah, they did. They tried to ban certain ones, yeah.
yeah, they
Oh
tried
my
to
God.
ban like Ichis and I think even Yuri's and stuff like that.
Well, yeah,
I
like-
know- it's a complicated subject. I'll have to look into it to
Yeah,
make a
I know
video
there
about it someday.
Like, I know there was a bill that was in Australian Parliament where it died immediately because people quite rightly said, hey, this is kind of BS, even for us.
Mhm.
But it was a case where a lawmaker in Australia tried to get anime banned from the country. And then there was a UN resolution that also went nowhere because, again, people kind of went, hey, yeah, that's not how this works. Of course, it's also a case where the UN passing a resolution doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are things that have happened. I know the Australia one for sure did happen because it was a particular politician who was known for crazy laws like that, where he literally also tried to get R-rated movies taken out of the video stores, except you could have them in like a corner. They basically tried to have the R-rated movie, so R-rated by U.S. standards, relegated to the back room where you have the beaded curtain and you don't have the covers on the DVDs, and you basically have to have them in the brown bags.
Yeah.
Australia, people.
Mm-hmm.
It's
that's
kind
weird.
of a weird country.
No, I mean the weirdest it ever got for me was, and I brought this up a number of times, but they banned Mortal Kombat 9 for its excessive violence, but they had no problem with a Wii party game which encouraged you to. It was basically made for adults, and it encouraged people to spank one another. To be able to do it was like a Mario Party game kind of deal, and Australia allowed that. I was like, the fuck.
It's because it's Mario.
It wasn't Mario. It was like an adult kind of Mario Party game. So I think it used your Wii avatars or something like that to do it. But yeah, like one of the things you had to do for a mini game was like spank your girlfriend's bottom kind of thing. Spank your girlfriend's butt. And I was just like, okay, so you are okay with the spanking? And I think there was even one where you had to put like the Wiimote like in between the boobs and do something there. And I was like, you're okay with that, but MK9, that's way too far.
Again, Australia...
I mean, I kind of get it, but Australia, come on.
I mean, when people talk about how a lot of games have to be censored for the PAL regions, many people blame Germany, but most of that crap is because of Australia.
Yeah, pretty much. I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head here. I do not think anything's going to be happening about this. I apologize to all the people that had to hear me say... I'm not saying it again because I'm already demonetized for saying it. But, yeah, Eric, I almost think, because all of these other lawsuits were in California, I don't know. Is there actually a point where he kind of gets, like, blacklisted by courts and he can't make any actions?
Not necessarily. It's kind of a case where there's nothing that really blacklists him from being able to file lawsuits, but... it does make it likely that a judge is not going to take him seriously, given their history. So prior history does play a factor, and I also know that California is an anti-slap state as well, so it's also a case where those types of lawsuits that are filed not because they actually want to win, but because they want to make people's lives miserable, aren't able to be filed in California. For more information, I just recommend people watch John Oliver's video about the time that Robert Murray tried to sue HBO. It goes into much more detail about that.
I just hope it's the same judge that's there every single time.
Oh,
so just like, we're here again.
No, you know what? I want the judge. Have you heard about the Keemstar Romeo Lacoste lawsuit, Shay?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Romeo basically was hitting on a girl who was underage and sent her a dick pic, and the girl sent the dick pic over to Keemstar, and Keemstar reported on it. And it just so happens a year before that, he'd been busted for something similar. He went on Keemstar's show and admitted it. And the guy sued Keemstar for because he was a tattoo artist in California, and it was basically going to hurt his business. The judge was pissed and threw the damn thing out. Like, he approved the TCP or I don't know what it's called in California, but the anti-slap motion that Keemstar's lawyers put up. But from what I'm hearing, that judge was pissed that this was even in front of him. I want him to get that judge. Because that judge, I mean, granted, he'll be pissed at the internet for quite a while, but...
I just want it televised.
Exactly! I want Twitch. I want to see him yell at Eric Estevillo. I'm just saying.
Put it on Twitch. Twitch should make money off of this.
Damn right.
Well, as nice as it would be, there are a number of laws in place when it comes to the televising of trials. I mean, it's kind of sad, but one thing that happened like a few years ago that was a big deal that nobody reported on was how Utah was literally the first state to have a fully televised murder trial, and nobody cared. No, not at all. And I remember when the most recent Michael Jackson trial in 2004, I think it was, 2004, 2005, it was basically like murder to get cameras in there, and it was only, I can't remember the law channel that did it, but like Court TV, I think. Yeah, I think it was Court TV, and it cost them tons of money
to get cameras in that courtroom, and they did not get anywhere near the viewership they thought they were going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because people forget litigation, court trials. The TV shows make those things a lot shorter than they actually are.
I would actually honestly say, like, there's probably more people watching Leonard French, Nick Rekieta, and Legal Eagle than watch court TV. Yeah. That's my assumption, but
that's mostly because those channels cater to the niche of people who actually have an interest in law, whereas court TV caters to basically the type of people who basically want to watch Judge Judy 24/7, but without having it be Judge Judy 24/7.
Pretty much. So let's go ahead and get into the next story. Alex actually found this one, and I have an addition to it that we'll also be going into. But AT&T, actually, I think it's still on the market. I don't think they have a finalized deal yet, but Alex can correct me on it. They are looking to sell Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. Now, for those who don't understand what that basically means, is that I believe Warner Brothers, they have a bunch of studios under their banner. So we have TT Games, that's the one that makes the Lego games. You have Rocksteady Studios. NetherRealm Studios is part of Warner Brothers Interactive. So they would be up for sale. Monolith Productions is also in there. I didn't know that. Avalanche Software. All of these companies are basically going to be put up on the market because AT&T is looking to sell them. I don't think they have a buyer yet, but in addition to the story that we have, one of the prospective buyers, at least to purchase NetherRealm, would be Activision Blizzard to purchase NetherRealm Studios. For those who don't know NetherRealm is responsible for Mortal Kombat as well as Injustice. And I don't know how this would affect their deal for Injustice, but I think that they would probably have to go through a few more hoops to get the licensing to do, like, Injustice 3. But, yeah, so it actually looks like AT&T might be willing to take these companies apart, and despite what they're working on, and let them be purchased off. So, first of all, I know that a few people wanted me, as a Blizzard fan, to give my opinion on NetherRealm. I don't think Activision Blizzard should buy it. And frankly, it's only because, from what I understand, considering the budget that Mortal Kombat 11 had, and considering that even in its opening year where it was doing really, really well and the DLC was being bought rapidly, it doesn't seem that it has been able to completely get in the black with Mortal Kombat 11's budget. So at that point, I don't know if it's actually a worthwhile deal for them. And frankly, I don't know if Activision would know what to do with Mortal Kombat aside from put Scorpion on a skateboard.
Well, probably not a skateboard. They would probably just create a Scorpion skin for Call of Duty that you only get access to for 1 week.
I mean, Blizzard, I could see doing that. Well, if Blizzard still has as a priority Heroes of the Storm, I could see Mortal Kombat skins of Heroes of the Storm avatars being able to do that. Or Overwatch skins, and maybe Overwatch skins would happen, but like Blizzard's focus has changed so much since then. I don't see anything happening there, and frankly, I don't think NetherRealm, under Activision supervision, would be able to do any of that anymore. I think Activision would actually tell them to tone down everything they want to do, and Ed Boon would then basically go scorched earth on the company. So I don't think it's a worthwhile purchase for them to do it, but I mean, look at some of the other studios we have here. If people are wondering why you haven't been seeing Lego games, DC Games has been working hard on some, but I know that they're also in financial straits because of this year and previous years not doing so well. And a lot of these games could either get bought up or ended because of this whole situation. So I'm going to go ahead and start up with Shay here. I don't know how many of these studios you would actually have games that you love from them. But what's your take on AT&T looking to sell them and other developers basically looking to pick up these studios?
Honestly, I mean, I'm not surprised that they're trying to sell it. But as far as like, if anyone's going to go for it, I mean, to me, only time will tell as far as like who's going to actually try and like buy a lot of these studios. I know for me, the one games I'm a huge fan of are like Mortal Kombat. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested kind of to see who's going to try and pick up that studio.
Yeah, and right now the prospective buyer is Activision Blizzard. So at that point, you're talking about, so Blizzard wouldn't be part of it, but Activision is behind things like Guitar Hero. That's why I'm saying I don't, like COD and Guitar Hero, and I can't think of any of the other major franchises they have. I don't think they would know what to do with.
No, I feel like if they would probably change a lot of things, and probably not for the better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they would keep, at least to me, I don't think they would keep Mortal Kombat as bloody,
no, it'd get toned down hard.
They would tone it down, and I don't know of any studio that would probably keep it as, bloody as it is, or as violent as it is right now. Like, even if it went to EA, I don't even think EA would even.
I mean, if we were talking about Mortal Kombat X, which actually did do well sales wise, especially with its DLC packs, we'd be talking about a whole other story. But 11 has had a very divisive reaction amongst the fan base and even amongst new players, because I haven't played 11 myself, but from what I understand, new players that picked it up, it wasn't as easy as they kind of made it out to be. And all the grindier elements to be able to get all the costumes and whatnot was not a selling point to new players. It was a selling point to hardcore MK fans. So that would be a much harder thing. Rocksteady, I think, would also have a problem. Now, Rocksteady is the one that has done the Arkham games. But currently, they were actually working on a game in the Harry Potter universe.
Wasn't that debunked by Warner Brother Games, though, where it was said they were working on
was
one?
Was it debunked?
Then, I think it was debunked. Where
okay.
Maybe they had like a tech demo, but it didn't get past the concept stage, because that was something we reported on, but it was a rumor, but it was kind of kept at that, where nothing was really confirmed that Rocksteady
So then
was
at that point, I don't know what Rocksteady's working on. TT Games, that would be, think of Activision Blizzard buying TT Games. The Lego games basically being in charge of by Activision. They'd basically be movie tie-ins and nothing else. Which is fine. That's what they can do. But I honestly think like Activision would step in and say, you need to be able to make these games faster, and that would be the death knell.
Yeah, the only like company that I could probably see as probably still being okay if they're bought by these companies would be Portkey Games, because they made the Harry Potter game that's for mobile, and I feel like that's the only one that I can see, like, if it got picked up by a bigger company.
Is that the one that that we covered, Romney, the Harry Potter mobile game that kept people in Devil's Snare for forever?
With the microtransactions.
I think it was called Hogwarts Mystery.
Yep.
Yes.
Is that Portkey Games?
Yeah, that's Portkey Game.
Oh god.
I feel like that's the only one, only because since so many people are going into mobile gaming now, or still are going into mobile gaming, that's probably the only one I can see them.
That would be even more exploited, because we know that Tencent has a 10% interest in the company, and so we already know that they've got games like Diablo Immortal coming out, which are going to be, we're guessing, microtransaction heavy. I think the Command & Conquer mobile game is theirs. I might be wrong about that. That might be EA. They're going to exploit the hell out of that game. So that's definitely going to happen. Really quick, though, Monolith Productions, is that the one I'm thinking? No, Monolith Soft. Sorry, wrong company.
No. Yeah, Monolith Productions, they initially made a bunch of Disney games, one of them being
That's
Tron
right.
2.0.
And then we also have Avalanche Software, which unfortunately our state knows very, very well, because they made Dragon Ball Z sagas.
Well, that, and they were also the company behind Disney Infinity.
They did Disney Infinity. So that was also pretty cool. My honest opinion is that unfortunately you're going to have a THQ Nordic situation where they're going to get ripped apart, and the various teams are going to get bought up by various big companies. I don't know if any of them would be worthwhile to be bought by any of the bigger developer or the AAA studios.
The only ones I can see that companies would go after would be,
NetherRealm is a good property.
Like NetherRealm probably is the biggest one because of Mortal Kombat and the marquee value. I can see EA trying to jump into the fighting game arena to try to compete with games like Killer Instinct. And portkey games, like Shay mentioned, would be something Activision would probably go after because of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, because, hey, it's like, oh, it's a cash cow. But as for a lot of the smaller developers, I can see them
TT games could also get exploited for mobile.
To a point. But the other thing people need to remember is that, yeah, they're known for these licensed games, but those have outstanding contracts. Just because they get bought out by these other studios doesn't necessarily mean they'd get the rights. So TT games may be bought out, but LEGO may think, okay, well, we're not wanting to work with Activision. We're going to take our intellectual property and go elsewhere. Same case with stuff like the DC Comics, which although Warner Brothers Games makes a bunch of DC games, DC proper is still owned by Warner Brothers. So it would be a case of, okay, well, we're losing these game studios. We don't necessarily want to work with this company. We're going to take our intellectual property back. And again, that's where you run into the issue, because Harry Potter, very much controlled by Warner Brothers, and more specifically J.K. Rowling, which whole separate tirade there. But it's a case where, yeah, they may be known for these intellectual properties, these licensed games, but there's no guarantee these licenses would transfer. The only company that would still have control, and even then it's debatable, would be NetherRealm.
Another one I think that is also going to go back to Warner Brothers, now that I'm looking at it, is the Middle-earth franchise. I didn't realize that was also in there, too. So we're talking about Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. Those games are going back to Warner Brothers. But let me go over these prospective buyers really quick, and you guys kind of give me a general consensus of if they should have these studios like NetherRealm, Rocksteady, TT Games, things like that. We already covered Activision Blizzard, which I think all of us are basically going, no. Although Alex didn't weigh in on that. The next one we have is Electronic Arts. Absolutely not. EA would not know what to do with any of those studios.
I mean, they've already lost the Harry Potter license once. They would probably lose it again.
No, it would not work out. Take-Two Interactive. So Take-Two, if people don't know what that is, that's the distributor or the publisher for Rocksteady. So Grand Theft Auto.
You mean Rockstar?
Rockstar Games. So Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto, things like that. No. Maybe NetherRealm, because Take-Two would probably be the only ones that would be okay with the level of gore that Mortal Kombat is currently doing. But even then, I could see, because here's the thing, they don't know how to do online in the slightest, and they would probably try to find shortcuts here and there to do crappy ass netcode, kind of like they do with Grand Theft Auto Online, from what I understand, and that would hurt Mortal Kombat and even Injustice if they even got the rights back to that as a whole. Because if you have a fighting game and you don't have good netcode, as Romney and I both know, you're pretty much hosed in this day and age.
Unless they hire someone to try and make that netcode better, especially if they're let's say they take the entire team and everyone that already works on, just going to say Mortal Kombat, just that property in general, and they take everyone that works on that particular game. And if they know that that game is very online heavy, then maybe, hoping, cross my fingers, they would listen and be like, okay, well, now we need to hire someone that can do online, since this game is online heavy. And then just try to make the promise that hey, we're not going to tone down the game. And the reason why I'm just thinking about that aspect, because I'm thinking about when Disney got Fox, and everyone was so afraid because of the fact that Fox owned or has the Deadpool property, and because Deadpool is so not Disney friendly, that everyone was just like, please do not change this. And then Disney finally had to come forward and say, we have no plans to change Deadpool or what he does or how he is.
And then come out later and say, we're not going to do another Deadpool movie because
it's been up in the air. It's not.
It's not. They haven't said no, but I think a lot of it's coming from the director, and that's why people are like.
And Ryan.
Actually, a lot of it has been coming from Rob Liefeld, because he's bitter that he doesn't make money on Deadpool. The rumors of them not making it. I've actually seen the articles. The rumors of Disney not wanting to make Deadpool. It's all from Liefeld, and Liefeld literally has no connection to it, meaning that you can basically take what he says with a grain of salt the size of Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds said he had a meeting with Disney about it. So he has had meetings with them. So people are like, oh, they probably will Plus, he loves that character.
Oh yeah,
and he also actually controls the rights to Deadpool, which people kind of forget.
Yeah.
And so it's not even a case of, oh, Disney's not going to change anything. It's not so much, oh, we respect the character. It's more like, we're not going to change anything because Ryan Reynolds won't let us.
Yeah.
but back to what you were saying before, Shay. I mean, you have a good point. Yeah. If somebody made that focus, but correct me if I'm wrong, Romney. There are two companies that have been able to really nail down netcode and be able to make it as good as it could possibly be. One of which is Iron Galaxy, which does Killer Instinct. I know that a lot of these companies have learned from Iron Galaxy and how they do their netcode. And I want to say Capcom, because they just barely tried to do an overhaul on Street Fighter V's netcode.
To a point, but a better example comparing Iron Galaxy would be Arc System Works.
Arc System Works would probably be another good one. I mean, Bandai Namco has been a little bit of a thorn in their side, but they've been able to make it work.
Well, yeah, and so it's a case where there are quite a few games that have pretty good netcode, like Bandai Namco. They've been maintaining the netcode for both Smash Brothers as well as Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur 6.
Yes.
And so they've got it pretty good. Capcom, they have it in place. It's just been tricky because when they made Street Fighter V, they went from the GGPO netcode, which is what they used for Street Fighter 2 Ultra HD and a lot of the ports, to trying to create their own netcode. And people forget, at launch, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And they slowly fixed it over time. But between Arc Sys and Iron Galaxy, their level of quality with their netcode has been a lot more consistent, mostly because, well, in the case of Arc Sys, they've been making games a lot longer and kind of have a better understanding of what to do to make it work. Yeah. And yes, the Namco money from Dragon Ball FighterZ has certainly helped, but even when you take away Dragon Ball FighterZ, they still have a lot of major fighting games that still get a lot of tournament play, such as BlazBlue and Guilty Gear XR. So it's one of those cases where those companies understand their market, they understand what it takes to make it work. And so the way I see it, if a company were to buy NetherRealm, if they wanted it to be successful, they would basically have to do what Warner Brothers did with NetherRealm. We're thinking, okay, we're going to fund your projects. We're not going to mess with anything else. We're going to let you do your own thing. We're just going to basically make money off of your IP. Which
and see, here's the thing. If we were talking Electronic Arts or Activision Blizzard, where they actually do have online games, where they do work on matchmaking and things like that, they are always looking to improve their games, at least somewhat, you probably have a better feel of that. Take-Two just barely entered this. Take-Two, because GTA Online, I didn't know this, but GTA fans absolutely hate GTA Online. They absolutely hate it. It doesn't work half the time, and the other half, it's barely functional. The slightest bit of a lag spike apparently can kick you off. It's actually more ideal for you to play on PC, which a lot of the GTA audience is consoles. So at that point, it hurts all of them. So at that point, like, Take-Two would probably not edit NetherRealm, but I don't see them working on netcode unless they knuckled under and actually tried to learn what they're doing. I don't know if Take-Two would be willing to do that. I think they would just be more interested in pumping out a Mortal Kombat game and then worrying about, or basically trying to use the online that they've been trying to hammer forth with GTA Online.
Yeah, and that really will come down to which company has been maintaining the netcode, because some companies will outsource their netcode to smaller companies. That's what Capcom did. That's why if you play some of the ports, you'll see the GGPO logo, because GGPO is a separate company that is all they do is maintain the netcode for the fighting games that run on their servers. But then you could also have a case where maybe they could either outsource it to a smaller company that has more experience with it. They could try to do it themselves like they've done with GTA Online in order to save resources. Or they may expect NetherRealm to do most of the work for them, thinking, okay, we bought this company with this massive fighting game franchise to go ahead and do your thing. And then NetherRealm being like, we kind of need this, that, and the other. And just like, no, you don't.
No.
Yeah, we do.
So I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head here. And I'm going to let Alex kind of wrap up with his thoughts on the matter, because he's been kind of quiet on this. What are your concerns, Alex, with Warner Brothers Interactive being sold, with the companies that are looking to purchase it? What's your take?
Well, anytime a company gets sold like this, I always do wonder who's going to take it and what are they going to do with it? You know, are they going to pretty much dismantle everything and only keep like the core elements? In which case, this would probably be like either either Mortal Kombat or Batman. I could see them doubling down on. I don't really see them watering down Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat's popular and violent. I want to say violent video games aren't exactly that controversial anymore.
Yeah, it just
sometimes they still make
depends.
the headlines, but
Because they're incredibly violent, but a lot of, and I've actually seen a lot of criticism from MK11. MK11 has been trying to tone down the sexuality of a lot of the characters, and so at that point, maybe that would be enough for them to be willing to take the risk.
Yeah,
because they only have to worry about half of it.
That's more what I see is just them wanting to tone down the sexuality behind it more than they are worried about the violence.
Which they've already kind of done. I mean, granted, there is talk that Melina is going to be in the next Kombat pack, and she's basically the one that has to be scantily clad because that's how the character works. But Katana and Jade have already been redone, which... Look, I wasn't entirely into their look initially, but the stuff they have just doesn't work. It looks dumb, in my opinion. But that's me. That's me. But I kind of agree with your take on that, though. So let's go ahead and get into the Nintendo talk for the evening, because a couple of Nintendo Directs have happened since then. And the first one that we have to talk about, because so many people wanted to make sure that we talked about it, Pokemon Snap for Switch has been announced. I think it's only appropriate to start with either Alex or Shay with this on their thoughts of Pokemon Snap. I'm guessing you guys are excited.
Yeah, I am.
So since we kind of talked over Alex, maybe you should go first here. What's your feel on the announcement? I mean, we did get stuff for the Isle of Armor in Sword and Shield, and that's great and all, but really the thing that people took away from that was Pokemon Snap's coming back.
Yeah, it's incredible. After like 20-something years, Snap is finally coming back.
It is.
We've been asking for it for years.
And here's the thing, I did not expect it to come back the way that it did. I have not seen the trailer, but from what I understand, Niantic is not involved with it, and that's like the way I saw them doing Snap, is bringing it integration into Pokemon Go. And no, it's being done. So
yeah,
I'm excited for you guys. Shay, your thoughts on Pokemon Snap Reborn?
I'm excited for it. I played the original as a kid on Nintendo 64, bought the books so I could get to Mew, just like a lot of people did. And I'm not surprised Niantic didn't do this kind of a game, just because in Pokemon Go there's already a take a picture feature. Yeah. So it would have probably took away from it a little bit. But I saw the trailer and I think it looks great. The only thing I'm disappointed about is because in the original game you're in this like car per se on a track.
Yeah.
And then you take pictures that way. And in the new trailer you're still in the same vehicle and the track is blue, so you still have a track. But I thought that you would be more of like a open world kind of a game for Pokemon Snap, only because they made even like the new Pokemon games with Sword and Shield more open world a little bit more and a lot different looking. And I thought the same thing for Snap. So kind of when I saw the whole like vehicle, I kind of got disappointed. I really wish that like it would have you traveling to like, they have where you can explore different places, but like a beach or a jungle or however to take pictures of different Pokemon. But because of like how the games are, that now when they introduced like Alolan Pokemon and then Galarian Pokemon, how they look so different, I thought that they would have where you can go to those specific islands and like take pictures of those Pokemon in their habitat. But it looks like they're just putting them all together, which is strange considering how the games are going, where there's different Pokemon considering on different islands. And I just thought you would be able to travel to like from Kanto to Hoenn to Johto and stuff like that, considering when Snap came out,
if this game is successful and that's the complaint that they get, they would do a sequel and they would let you go to these areas. In fact, that's actually a little shocking to me. Again, I'm not seeing the trailer. I'm not the biggest Pokemon Snap fan, guys. It's not built for me. By the time that game came out, I was playing much more complex games, and I was not the most hardcore of Pokemon fans. So this was not going to be catered to me. But that's kind of disappointing to me too. Where like you have the tech now, you can be able to do it. You can let tracks go through Kanto, through Hoenn, through Sinnoh, all of those areas. Why are you just merging them all?
Well,
Yeah.
from a
It's kinda
design
like the original
perspective,
game.
yeah, from a design perspective, like Alex said, they're trying to replicate the general pacing of the original game,
Yeah.
especially considering the established sizes of these different regions. It would be tricky trying to actually replicate the actual size of it and the actual placement.
I'm not saying you can. That's an unrealistic deal. Is like you can't go through all of Hoenn,
Yeah.
you know, but you could do a Hoenn inspired track,
Yeah,
or a Johto inspired one.
And that's likely what players are going to get, whether in the base game or even as DLC. It's kind of one of those cases where Nintendo seems to be taking the approach of that it's a soft remake / reboot, where they want it to feel like the original N64 game with a few extra flourishes. But that's always how Nintendo has always been, is that they've always like, let's keep the core of the gameplay intact and only add a few bells and whistles here and there. And sometimes that works really well, like with Shadow Dragon, but other times that can actually hold them back. Case in point, well, many of the later Zelda games under Miyamoto's tenure.
Yeah. So really quick, we actually have a question from our live chat. By the way, welcome live chat. I hope you guys are having a fun time so far. Your fandom has been called into question, Shay, because Jiro the Hero is asking if you're really a fan. Do you know the Poke Rap though?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. I wish I could test her, but unfortunately, I don't even remember the original Poke Rap. So
I have it on my phone.
Yeah.
In my iTunes library.
Plus, it's also a case we don't want to get copyright struck.
Oh
by the,
yes, I mean,
Yeah.
we already got demonetized because we showed Romney the Resident Evil 8 trailer. So.
Oh no, I do. Trust me, I have it. If anyone's wondering, I have the soundtracks for To Be a Master. I have most of the movie soundtracks on CD and on my iTunes.
Somewhere off in the distance, my wife is very happy.
So I have so many like Pokemon stuff. Like I even had the Pikachu doll whose ears moved and its cheeks lit up, and when you pressed his hands, it said Pikachu over and over again as a kid.
Cute.
The point where I dragged it around and it was no longer yellow, it was a dingy gray. Like I was 9 years old dragging it with me to Vegas.
You know what? I totally get it. I totally get it.
No, yeah. But no, I think one other thing I have in question though about this new Snap game is like how with the Nintendo 64 one, you had not like I'm not going to say like a cheat code, but there was like the way to get to Mew. So I'm curious now on who's going to be, or if they do have a legendary Pokemon that you can get to this time, because they have released so many different legendaries now.
That's what I'm saying. Like do a Kanto inspired one, and then like if you get the bonus track in there, you get Mew. If you get Hoenn, you can get at the very least Rayquaza in there and have him like flying. The
way I see it, they may do it something similar with the Let's Go games, where if you buy that Pokeball peripheral in the Let's Go games, you got Mew with that peripheral. They may do something similar to that, where maybe they'll release like an amiibo or something that, in order to gain access to those legendaries,
that makes sense actually.
Amiibo.
Yeah, but that takes the fun out of it. Because it was
Yeah.
fun being able to play Nintendo 64 and know, like, oh, I have to throw, this apple into the volcano to get the coughing, so I can take a picture of coughing, and then, like, how to do all that to get to the special place to get to Mew. And if they do that, it just kind of cheapens it. Like,
it hasn't stopped them before.
No,
I know, but it just kind of sucks. Like, I want to have that aspect of like, of course people will spoil it online and say here's how you do it, but it was fun doing it, because even though my brother and I had the book that told us how to do it to get to Mew, it was still fun doing it that way to get to Mew and take a picture of it. But then it also calls into question like, what legendary will they choose? Because before they only had one. They only had Mew to actually choose from. But now they have Lugia, they have Rayquaza, they have, all the new ones that are out now. And so it's like, which
I think
one
they ought to just do like bonus tracks for a majority of them, at least the popular ones.
I feel like they'll do like they did with Let's Go when they released the Pokemon with the bolt on its head. They released it to go with Pokemon Go, kind of, and it was like an 8th generation that wasn't yet out yet. And I feel like they'll do that with this release of Pokemon that's like never before seen, so that it's like a whole new
I just had a very interesting idea. I need to share it with you guys because this definitely needs to happen, because we need this in this game. You get a bonus track for the Reggies.
Oh my god.
And at least one of them needs to have like a Wii Fit in there. I'm not saying he has to stand on it, but a Wii Fit has to be there, and the Reggie of choice has to actually be in the stance that Reggie Fils-Aimé was when he said, "My body is ready."
Oh my god.
And in fact, there needs to be something up on the screen that says "My body is ready." Because look, I get it. He's working for GameStop now, or he's doing stuff for kids. But Reggie will always be a part of Nintendo culture. There's a reason they're called the Reggies, all right?
Yeah, but I don't see Nintendo really going to that length.
I know, but like that's what they have to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see them integrating Pokemon Go though. Like I could see them doing the same thing with Let's Go, like when they let you bring your Pokemon into the game, but you can't take them out of the game.
Yeah,
but I could see them like doing that too. If you want to take a picture of like your shiny Rayquaza, you can import it into the game and then take a picture of it, but you can't take it out. But have extras so you can keep one.
Yeah, like some sort of a QR code sort of scenario or something.
Yeah, like how with that one they had the babysitter or however it worked, where you could import a lot of Pokemon into the game.
Oh, that would be another really cool track, is doing like a nursery with all the baby Pokemon.
That would be cute.
That would be awesome. Like we're doing the job for you, Nintendo. I'm not even a Snap fan.
Yeah, I just wish they didn't have the track. Like I wish you could be on feet. Like just let me walk.
True.
I'm fine with the rail, because if it was on feet, then it would just be Pokemon Go, and we already have Pokemon Go.
Yeah, plus it's also the issue with design-wise, if they have it where you can explore everything, it can make it harder. Basically, it would make it harder to hide the stuff that they normally hide in games that sell the illusion, like various forced perspective stuff and stuff like that. And that's why having it on rails serves that purpose. I mean, if you look at any of those boundary break videos where they go outside of what you're allowed to explore in game and you see how janky and empty it all looks, I mean...
I love the WoW videos. They're funny.
It would kind of be a case where I can see them experimenting with that, maybe as some sort of expansion where, like, the nursery idea would probably be a case where it would be on feet, because it would be kind of a controlled environment, and it would limit what you could explore. But it's one of those cases where I can see Nintendo thinking, okay, well, is this going to work while maintaining the gameplay that people loved from the original?
Sure. Really quick, Shay and Alex, and maybe even Romney can answer this for me, because I think I've got a solution for that. Like, because I kind of agree with Romney, Shay. I think you need to have some kind of a track that can be followed, so that the photo aspect there is all they have to work on, and they don't have to worry about you breaking code. But correct me if I'm wrong, Snap gave you choices on some of those tracks, right? Where you could go left and get whole other Pokemon.
Yeah, you could spin around and make sure you got Pokemon at different angles. Yeah. I just hope the track is longer, because I feel like in Snap you only were on there for like a minute to like 30 seconds.
Well, that's actually what I'm talking about. Why not have multiple choices across a track? Like
You probably will, because again, that's like the original, where the original there would be like splits in the road that you would have to uncover as you continue
except now I can see like
pictures and get upgrades.
Now I can see like 3-way splits and maybe more than one. I kind of agree with you. The tracks were kind of short, Shay. They could easily extend them to be like, if it's, let's just say the version is like 5 minutes or whatever, you could easily up that to 10 minutes and just add in a bunch of stuff. You have almost 1,000 Pokemon. You could make that work. It just depends on how much effort they want to put into this. And granted, Pokemon Snap is coming back after a long absence. I think we figured this out, Shay. It was like 98, 99 when this game came out.
Yeah, I was like 8 or 9.
So at that point, like, we're talking a lot of distance in years. So this might be the prototype, and then at that point, the sequel would be much bigger. But this could be the Pokemon company looking at this and going, we want to see what the audience thinks. Do they want Snap back? And then watch the numbers, and obviously people will buy it, and then at that point, they'll make a bigger version or add stuff to it. That's kind of my take on it. Because I don't see a reason why they wouldn't add on to the content or just make a bigger game, because people are going to buy this. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm not the biggest Snap fan, but I know what Snap's about, and I know that people will buy it. In fact, I've actually got a friend's... I got to read this, too, because this is amazing. I got a friend text me on the Pokemon Snap situation. This just in, Nintendo is going to buy Blockbuster Video so that they can bring back those wonky printers that were in all of the Pokemon or the Blockbuster stores. Dude, you can actually get those at like antique auctions, and they sell pretty good.
Well, that does raise a possible idea that I can see Nintendo experimenting with. Not necessarily with printers, but I can see them trying to work in some sort of social media integration.
Sure, absolutely.
Because that would naturally be an extension of that idea of, hey, I'm going to show the pictures that I took in Pokemon Snap on social media.
I've heard talk that Nintendo wants to try and do some level of social media integration. I don't know how successful they've been on it, but I could totally see them doing that. And also integration with Pokemon Go. I think that's a guarantee. Even Pokemon Home, like being able to do something where you could see your pictures in your home environment, like on digital picture frames and stuff like that. I could totally see them doing that too. Because that's definitely got to be something they've got going. I do need to actually move on from this because I know you guys are excited, but there is another Nintendo announcement that we need to get to. Granted, we're all excited that Pokemon Snap exists, and I have a feeling a majority of them are just gonna go buy it. I'm not, but I'll probably be buying it for Christmas for my wife. So there you go. And also, Jiro has responded. You win. You've got Poke cred. So there you go. The next announcement, however, was not as welcomed and received, as later on they had a Smash Bros. Direct where they basically announced their first character in the second Smash pack. And it wasn't as great as people thought it was going to be, as Min Min from ARMS has been announced as the first character in the Smash pack. I kid you not, I saw people on Twitter saying, you know what, we'll take the Byleth announcement back.
Yeah.
And these were the people that were complaining about Byleth. So
yeah. And again, as Sakurai stated in the direct revealing Byleth, he explained, hey, all the people in Fighters Pass 2 have already been decided.
Yeah.
Looking at this was probably a mandate from Nintendo, thinking, hey, we want to promote this game. You've got to work in a character in the Smash Brothers. Much like how Byleth was a mandate from Nintendo.
Really quick, Alex, could you do a little bit of homework for me? Can you get the numbers on ARMS on how well it did? Because that's one of the things I'm wondering is, I know that ARMS kind of got niche status on the Switch, but I think it failed its budget, if I'm right about that. I think it failed its budget, and so at that point, it's a little shocking to me that they wanted to do ARMS. Aside from what you're basically saying, you wanted to promote the studio more than anything.
Well, I know that it's kind of amassed a bit of a niche following where there are people who do play it and there are even some tournaments. It's just not to the same degree as, say, Smash Brothers, where the tournaments that are usually done are usually very much more of a casual sort of tournament sort of thing where people just try to play the game. It's kind of the same way people would do things with Time Splitters back in the day.
Yeah.
Where it's a case of they don't really do it because they're trying to be like professional gaming tournament players. It's a case of, this is just a fun thing, like say at an anime convention where it's like, oh hey, we're gonna have a little ARMS event just for funsies. But
let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here, because here's the thing. I didn't like the Min Min trailer either. I am more interested when they're doing third party announcements than they are doing first party. But let me play devil's advocate here for just a second. Min Min is probably the first brawler that has been... Well, actually, no, that wouldn't be right, because Terry Bogard was in the... Yeah.
To an extent, it really depends on the definition of brawler, because...
Well,
again,
I'm going by their Smash clarification. So, Joker, I think, would have been... Actually, I think Joker's considered a sword character, or... No, a gunner. He's considered a gunner.
It's a bit
Hero's
tricky.
a sword character.
Well,
Banjo, I think, is also considered a sword character. Byleth is a sword character, and then who am I? Maybe the Piranha Plant is considered a brawler. What I'm basically saying is, like, a lot of sword characters have been added into the game. That was one of the biggest complaints with Byleth, is that was another sword character. So let me play devil's advocate here. You got another brawler that you could mess around with. Now you don't have to, like, brawler lovers don't have to mess around with Little Mac anymore. You have Min Min. So you have that breath of fresh air. But I do understand, like, this was probably not the announcement that they wanted, but hey, at least look on the bright side, you have a brawler to be able to mess around with now. And then at that point, we can move on to the third-party one. I even saw that Sakurai even openly admitted that there's too many sword characters in Smash. So... I think that was probably a good step, but I kind of agree with you, Romney. I think it was simply because they wanted to highlight the studio, and therefore the other characters that they have might be second or third party, and that might be the better idea. I just think a lot of people were disappointed because as soon as you hear of a Smash Direct, the rumor mill just goes.
Yeah, except people forget that after the Byleth announcement, Nintendo did announce saying, "Hey, the next character announced is going to be from ARMS." They literally yeah, they did on quite a few occasions.
I do not remember that.
So the fact that people are suddenly surprised shows they weren't paying attention, because literally Nintendo made it clear, like with a minor announcement on Twitter after Byleth had been released, that they're saying, "Hey, the next character is going to be from ARMS." And I remember they even had a whole, "Hey, buy ARMS at a discount," or "Hey, if you have a Nintendo Switch Online, you can play ARMS for free during this weekend gap," as part of that initial announcement. So again, people, they let you know ahead of time. So if you're still disappointed, it's a case of, they warned you. What did you expect?
I'm also taking Sakurai at his word. I don't think a sword character is going to be in this lineup. I think he even knows that there's probably too many sword characters. So at that point, he's probably going to focus on gunners and brawlers this time around. And so at that point, that leaves a lot of really interesting perspectives from a third party point of view. Because you could actually be looking at a lot of... I know that disappoints a few people, because I know Kingdom Hearts fans really wanted Sora in the game. But I don't know if you're going to get it. I don't know if they've worked that out.
Well, yeah, because again, with Sora, it's not so much a decision from Square. It comes down to Disney. Disney's very much one of those companies that they technically own the rights to Sora. If Square wants to put Sora in anything, they have to ask them.
I think it all depends. I think if you're going to get Sora in there, it's going to be dependent on the new Melody of Memory game that's coming out for Switch.
Yeah.
And how well that does.
Yeah, and that's going to be the real kicker. But again, like Square has explained it, that's why when they had the Sora DLC for World of Final Fantasy, they had to explain, we had to do a lot of horse trading to get for Disney to sign off on it.
Yeah.
And it's a case where, in terms of characters that they want to include, there's also a lot of games that have come out since then, and I'm sure Nintendo is going to want to promote. I mean, we've had, like, Demon X Machina. They may try to tie in something with that. Trying to think of other, like, first-party Switch titles that they're going to try to promote.
It would be ARMS. ARMS was, like, their biggest push.
Like, ARMS was the biggest one, but Demon X Machina is another first-party
that could be
Nintendo
another
title.
one. That would be an interesting gunner, is to have a mech.
Yeah. Plus, you also have the Xenoblade Chronicles games that came out after the re-release of the first game on the 3DS, where you've got Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you have the spin-off, you have Xenoblade Chronicles X. It's a case where, there's probably other first-party Nintendo titles they're going to want to promote, as well as trying to promote some of the more indie titles. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe someone behind the scenes at Nintendo talking with Sega thinking, "Hey, is there any way we can get Axel Stone put into the game because of how well Streets of Rage 4 did?"
Yeah,
can see
and I've also seen a lot of people pushing for many indie characters: Shovel Knight, Shantae, dude from The Mummy Demastered, a few of those other ones. In fact, the Shovel Knight was on the rumor mill. Is that Shovel Knight was going to be announced, which would open up the indie.
Well, and that's the thing, is that they got around that because both Shovel Knight and Shantae are spirits that you can access in Ultimate on the Spirit board.
Yeah.
As for the guy from The Mummy Demastered, not going to happen because they would have to get permission from Universal.
Yeah. So I'm going to let Alex kind of wrap this up. Your thoughts on Min Min being announced for Smash, and then we got to move to the next story here.
Well, first, to answer your question about the sales of ARMS, the last figure I could drudge up was from 2018, where it was reported 2.1 million copies worldwide.
Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. I would say that, they probably had bigger sellers than that. I would say Animal Crossing was probably a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, considering as of this year, as of March 31st this year, Mario Kart 8 has sold over 24 million. So
yeah.
Not a huge success, but
nah.
As for ARMS, I guess I really don't care either way because I never played ARMS, and
no, I think I don't think any of us played ARMS, honestly.
I tried the demo once, and it's definitely one of those games. I can see it being fun if you're playing it with friends, but it very much is a classic example of Nintendo trying a gimmick and the gimmick not really working the way they hoped it would.
No, and that was kind of my issue with it, is that it looked like it was a great party game, but not one you want to play alone. And that was kind of a deal breaker. All right, so let's move on into the next story here, which is, I think, going to be our last Billy Mitchell update. I keep saying that, but then Billy does something, and then we have to talk about it. So if people didn't already know about this, Billy was suing Twin Galaxies and Guinness because of the whole situation with removing his scores.
Well, he sued Twin Galaxies. He was threatening to sue Guinness. He hasn't.
Oh, I thought he was threatening them both. Okay.
Well, he actually filed suit against Twin Galaxies, but never filed the suit against Guinness.
Mm-hmm. And so at that point, basically making I believe it was a threat that he basically said that you need to reinstate my scores.
Yeah, he made a threat, but he didn't follow through on it, and as we're about to get into, we'll see why.
Because Guinness, later on, I want to say it was pretty quick after his announcement, that they made an announcement of their own and have officially reinstated Billy Mitchell's Pac-Man and Donkey Kong scores, at least on Guinness. I don't know if it's on Twin Galaxies. I don't
Twin
think...
Galaxies, it literally says it in the headline that Twin Galaxies is standing its ground. Their Twin Galaxies is standing by the
so Guinness will maintain the scores, but Twin Galaxies is not going to do it. And so at that point, he halfway won. I know that he really wants Twin Galaxies to acknowledge it because I think that was the one that hurt the worst. Given he I don't want to say he was a founding member, but he was very involved with Twin Galaxies.
He pretty much was a founding member.
Yeah, I want to say he was one of the head referees and
he was on the main board of trustees as well when it was first founded. Again, if you look at the King of Con documentary that goes into the detail about his high scores being dubious, particularly his Pac-Man score, he pretty much was in league with Walter Day.
Yeah, but the question that we actually had from viewers on this is that, can Billy really even call this a victory? Because bottom line, his scores got beat years ago. Like for Donkey Kong, I think even his Pac-Man perfect game score has long since been beaten. I'm not sure who did it for there, but you have at least 4 or 5 guys ahead of his Donkey Kong score.
Well, the key thing here is that these scores are a big deal to Mitchell,
Billy, yeah,
because of the fact that he was, quote unquote, the first to achieve those scores. Which, when you're the first, that's something that you can only be the first once.
Yeah,
and so that's probably a case of where he gets that satisfaction of Guinness recognizing that he was the first to achieve those scores, even if he no longer holds the record. He still has that idea of, hey, I was the first.
Sure.
Again, dubious at best, and again, I recommend the YouTube documentary King of Con, not to be confused with King of Kong. This was King of Con that a YouTuber put up that Billy tried to take down, but then it got re-uploaded because people kind of made it clear, hey, you can't really do that.
Nope.
And it's actually really fascinating, the research they went into regarding how sneaky he was regarding his Pac-Man score, but that's a whole separate thing. And so that's why it could be considered a victory, is because it means Guinness is saying Billy Mitchell was the first to achieve these scores.
Yeah, and I know that shortly after that, some people wanted commentary on this. Steve Wiebe officially announced that he was gonna start working on Donkey Kong again. I think that was either that or another game. And a lot of people thought that he was doing this in response to Billy. And I don't think that that's the case. I think he was just doing it to get back into the scene.
More than likely. I mean,
I don't think Billy motivates Steve. I really don't. I think he's had enough bad blood with, to some extent, with Billy Mitchell that Billy Mitchell's not a motivator.
Yeah. Plus, he came out on top in the documentary,
Yeah.
which is probably more of a boost more than anything. And so it's a case where, yeah, he probably is just doing it just to kind of to get back into it, which is something that we see pretty frequently. I mean, between Donkey Kong and the numerous other arcade games that people still have try to get high scores on. Again, that's very much probably neither here nor there.
Yeah. Alex, Shay, your take on this update with Billy Mitchell, because we've been kind of talking about it. He got his scores reinstated, so now he can make the claims that he wants to make, and he's probably going to go back over to his restaurant business. But is this something that he should have won? Should Guinness have caved?
Nah, Guinness just chickened out. They didn't want to have to deal with him. They didn't want to have to deal with the potential lawsuit, and they didn't want to have to deal with the potential litigation. I just kind of got repetitive there, whatever. But yeah, I think Guinness really just caved, and you can see it by the fact that the video where they do announce it on their YouTube channel, the likes and the comments are disabled. So
yeah,
I think that goes to show you Guinness.
I think the chat's disabled, or the comments are. No, you said the comments were disabled. Okay,
yeah, comments and likes and dislikes and all that. So yeah, so I think that's pretty clear that Guinness caved. They know they caved. They know they chickened out. They don't care.
No, I really don't think they care. So,
well, I mean, they already make most of their money with their beer and their books. There's a case of, this is just a minor thing. People are still going to buy the books. People are still going to buy the beer. This is just a drop in the bucket.
Pretty much. I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's disappointing, because I really don't have a dog in this race, because I don't like Billy, but at the same, and I do stand by why his scores were withdrawn, but at the same time, like it has been actually a cool concept for Billy to get back in and to earn those scores and to be able to show them. So I don't know. I just don't kind of have a dog in the race. Shay, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like Guinness just kind of backed down from it, but I also feel like, if Billy really felt like his scores were legit, he should have just went and showed them that he can do it again.
That was one of the biggest
best
complaints.
way for him to show it. And then it just kind of sounds like the fact that you're like, I'm going to sue you because you're taking down my scores that people have found to be illegitimate in the first place. It just makes you sound like a big baby.
Yeah.
Like,
which pretty much is.
Scores. Like, I don't understand. Like, just do it again if you feel like you can do it. I feel like that's just a challenge.
Which thankfully he did. Like that was one of the biggest complaints from the King of Kong documentary, is that, all he did was he submitted a videotape with him breaking over 1 million and beating Steve Wiebe's score. And so nobody liked the skeezy way he did that. So one of his responses to all of the naysayers is, because, the other part of that videotape was that he was probably using an emulator and using save states. So at that point, like, he went out and he went onto Twitch and he played and he got I think he got past the score he had, but he didn't get anywhere near any of the other scores. So there you go. Like, he did what people finally wanted him to do. He went out, he earned it. So at this point, I don't have a dog in the race. I think he's still a scumbag, but at the same time, like,
I would say they should reinstate then that score, not the old score.
No, yeah, I believe that's what they did. They gave the new score, but up until that point, Shay, he was permanently banned. He was
I would put an
blacklisted.
asterisk Put an asterisk next to the score.
Yeah, something like that. Because at that point, I think Guinness is basically saying we're not going to stand by Twin Galaxy's banning of it. And so they'll keep whatever score he's got currently, as well as his Pac-Man score. Because the thing he went out and did was Donkey Kong. That was the one that people questioned.
Well, again, people questioned Twin Galaxy specifically questioned the Donkey Kong.
Yeah, but I don't think he did. I don't think he did Pac-Man on the streams.
Yeah, he didn't do it on the streams, but his Pac-Man score did get thrown into question. Again, the documentary King of Khan goes into a lot of detail about it.
Yeah.
And so it was it was a classic case of, hey, this score is kind of sketchy. This makes all of your scores look kind of sketchy. And so it's a case of, if he's willing to do it live and have an impartial observer verify it, that's one thing. And I'm sure that Guinness would be open to the idea of saying, okay, if you want to challenge this record, all right, we'll send one of our observers to verify this record, like they always do. It's just a case where Guinness has kind of made it clear that they're just like, hey, we're going to do our own thing. We're not going to rely on Twin Galaxies for input anymore, because with Twin Galaxies, their whole...
Yeah, I don't even think they need to anymore. Like, they needed them initially. They don't need them now. Like, there are already a lot of other organizations that work with them. So at that point, like, Guinness is able to go on their own. And here's the thing. In Twin Galaxy's defense, really quick, I think they've got more of a case than Guinness. Guinness was just kind of standing by and adhering to what Twin Galaxies was doing. Twin Galaxies actually did the investigation. So at that point, this is probably why they're not backing down. They did their due diligence, and they can prove that in court. And so at that point, yeah, it's still a war of attrition. I have a feeling Romney's going to say that. It's still a war of attrition. But they maybe feel like they still have that leg to stand on. So
yeah.
Were Guinness and Twin Galaxies going to be on the same team together? Because he was suing them both. Was it two separate?
No, he was doing separate lawsuits.
Yeah, he was doing separate lawsuits. Pretty much where it all started is that when Guinness started incorporating the high scores from these arcade games into their gamer edition of the Book of World Records, they were initially relying on Twin Galaxies to be kind of the arbiters of that arena because they had the infrastructure in place.
Yeah, but now that's not the case anymore. Twin Galaxies, there are a number of organizations that do what Twin Galaxies does.
Yeah, pretty much after the Billy Mitchell stuff started happening, when his Donkey Kong score was thrown into question, Guinness basically cut all ties with Twin Galaxies, saying, okay, we're no longer going to rely on this organization as the official arbiter.
Which I think was a good decision on their part, because, you know, the other thing that people fail to realize with the Billy Mitchell coverage that we did, Twin Galaxies was kind of a skeezy organization in and of itself. Like, I appreciate Jace Hall, but he kind of walked into a swamp, and he's just trying to fix it. And I don't know if it can truly be fixed.
I mean, if Twin Galaxies has done an investigation and have found that his scores were not legit, if I was Guinness, I would team up, be on the same team with Twin Galaxies for this one instance and be like, this is why we're going to not reinstate your scores, is because Twin Galaxies actually did research and have found them to not be correct. So we're going to stand by their decision and agree with them and not reinstate that your scores were correct.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, and this is why I think Guinness made the decision they did, is because the only thing that was proven from the investigation is that it was not possible Billy did the scores under the conditions that he said he did. They couldn't prove that it was on the emulator, so to speak, because that was the biggest complaint, is that it was definitely on MAME. They couldn't prove that. But they could prove was that he couldn't have done it under the conditions that he said he did. And so at that point, they stuck with that, and that's why they blacklisted the scores. So that may be why Guinness isn't siding with, because the conclusion was kind of inconclusive. They found that the score wasn't fraudulent, it just couldn't have been done the way he said it was. So, I know, it's horribly complicated, but that's probably why Guinness caved, is they're just like, well, we're not anywhere near this. We have this very loose association with Twin Galaxies, and frankly, we don't need them anymore, so we can make this call.
And I guess that's why they probably backed down then at that point.
That's at least my theory on the matter. I mean, you're totally right. They could band together and make this claim. It's just, it's a civil lawsuit. So at that point, it's a glorified war of attrition. And Billy, I believe at this point, because Romney's kind of stated it, to get these scores back, he would put his restaurant chain at stake. Because this is what made him famous.
True.
So wrapping up on this one, I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, obviously, if we hear back on the Twin Galaxies lawsuit, we'll cover that. But I know a few people were thinking that I was going to be pissed that his score was reinstated. I really am not, because frankly, he did what people wanted him to do in the documentary. He went off and he showed that he could do the score on Twitch, and so at that point, he fulfilled that obligation. And that's really all that that mattered to me, is that he was granted, he's a scumbag. He still is doing a lot of skeezy things, but you're not going to fix that overnight. And this lawsuit was not going to fix that. I mean, for crying out loud, he sued Cartoon Network. So, like, yeah, this wasn't going to solve it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and go into our next story, which is bad news for fans of the Mixer service, as Mixer is done. They are just...
Mixer has been nixed.
I hate to bring out the South Park joke, but it's gone. I mean, granted, Mixer's not completely done yet. I think they're getting ready to discontinue Mixer as a service in the next couple of months, but then they will be merging with Facebook Gaming, because they've now partnered with Facebook Gaming to keep Mixer going, but it will be under a whole new service. I believe Facebook Gaming is what they're basically going under, but yeah, Mixer's officially done. Microsoft is no longer interested in investing in it, and all the streamers who had those exclusive deals, well, they got bought out. They're done. So I'm guessing in the next couple of months you're going to see Ninja back on Twitch.
Yeah, looking at the official statements here, it's more that they seem to have been given the option where people who were Mixer partners, if they agreed to be merged over, are granted partner status with Facebook Gaming, and that Facebook is honoring any existing agreements as closely as possible. It's kind of a case of, hey, if you want to stick with us, we're going to transition you over. Your agreement will still stand as far as we can honor it. But that seems to be the major thing there is that it seems to be a case where those who are on the bandwagon are probably there are going to be some that are going to jump ship, some that are going to stick with it. It's hard to say.
I know that some of the dedicated streamers that were on Mixer are looking to just move over to Facebook Gaming at this point, because they just don't trust Twitch. The one Mixer streamer that I followed was WWE wrestler AJ Styles. And I know that, I mean, I don't think he's been streaming recently. He's been really pissed at the company, so I would not be surprised if he hasn't been streaming on Mixer that much. But I think he'll move over to Facebook Gaming, because I know he doesn't want to try Twitch. But yeah, a lot of those dedicated streamers are basically just going to move over because they don't trust Twitch, and they don't want to move over to like D Live or anything like that. If all of the audience is just going to convert over, then it's going to work out for them. I guess one question that we actually got from listeners was, like, how do we feel about yet another streaming platform going down? I mean, here's the thing. If Microsoft wasn't getting a profit, then the writing was on the wall. That's kind of the bottom line. If they weren't able to get some kind of a profit out of it, or be able to get viability out of it, they were going to let it go. Especially with a new console that they're trying to promote, things like that. It just wasn't in the cards. And frankly, this is probably the best thing that could have happened for Mixer, because now Facebook has been looking to get into streaming, and now they have at least people who know how to do it that can help them out. So yeah, this is actually working out overall. I don't think it's really going to change the landscape any. What about you guys? Do you guys think that Facebook Gaming is now going to be a force to be reckoned with?
I really don't think so.
I doubt it.
I think enough people don't trust Facebook that they're definitely not going to trust their streaming platform.
Yeah, and I mean, Facebook has been trying to compete with YouTube directly. And again, I speak as someone who does upload their content to Facebook's platforms. It's just Facebook...
I mean, Twitch doesn't really even compete either.
Yeah, Twitch doesn't really even compete. I mean, Twitch has the niche where the live streams, that's the niche that they've cornered, especially with some of the deals they've cultivated with various companies. I mean, between various streams like Power Rangers Hyperforce and some of the tabletop streams, they know their niche, and they've managed to corner it. Whereas YouTube, they've managed to corner the majority of the niche with the variety of content.
I was going to say, like, what we also learned is that they know their niche, the booby streamers, because obviously people like Eric Estavillo will watch them. Sorry, I had to bring it back to the other story.
Yeah, so basically, Twitch knows its niche. They know the market they have. They know who they're trying to appeal to. Facebook is trying to. It's the classic case of trying to appeal to everyone and then ending up appealing to no one.
Yeah, pretty much. I in all honesty, I think this is the best way that it could work out, but I do not think that, like, Mixer, unfortunately, is not going to be able to help Facebook gain traction. I think Facebook's got enough things going against them that their streaming platform just isn't going to be trusted. Like, people like me are going to use it because we want to multi-stream, but that's it.
And even then, with the way their video platform works, Facebook's infrastructure just isn't conducive to following video content creators on the platform the way it is on YouTube, or even for the sake of comparison, the infrastructure with Instagram is more conducive to that type of content than Facebook.
Yeah.
And so maybe Facebook decided to try to...
That's a good point. Instagram, I'm kind of surprised they haven't gotten into streaming.
Yeah, they haven't gotten into streaming. They've been trying, and you can live stream on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just the type of live
but it's
streaming.
Like the same way as going live on Facebook. Where it's just like it's a webcam kind of thing on your phone.
Very much so. And it's one of those cases where if Facebook really wants to compete, Instagram, that's a platform more people are more inclined to consume video content on.
Yeah,
and so if they tried,
Mixer would have been more successful with Instagram at that point.
Yeah, and that probably would have been a better way to go instead of trying to do it as Facebook gaming. But therein lies the problem. Facebook is trying to basically embed everything in the main website, which again is effective in the sense that it keeps things organized, but it also leads to a little bit of brand confusion.
Yeah.
And it's a case where I look at this and I'm just like, okay, Facebook, I know what you're trying to do. Honestly, Instagram is a better platform for that because that's a more visual platform. People don't go to Facebook to watch movies. People don't go to Facebook to watch streams. They go to Facebook to see status updates. They go to Facebook to see blog posts.
Yep.
Whereas Instagram's the more visual platform. They really should be, putting the emphasis there. And honestly, if instead of Facebook gaming, they decided to do Instagram gaming, that probably would be a better way to go.
That would be a lot more successful.
It would be a lot more successful from a marketing standpoint because the infrastructure, the visual media, it's already there. You already have a market that's interested in consuming visual media on Instagram. It isn't there on Facebook, and I think that's their problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Vine market went to Instagram, didn't they? When Vine bit the dust, they basically went to Instagram.
Well,
they went to YouTube.
Well, they went...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Basically, where they went in terms of Vine... They went to YouTube, some went to Instagram, but now it's all been supplanted by TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's right.
I think it just comes down to, like, I hate to say it, but, like, aging at this point. Like, I feel like if Facebook gaming would have came out in, like 2008, 2009, when people were making that jump from like MySpace to Facebook, and Facebook was like the new hip thing, and you had people that were like 18, 19 years old getting on Facebook and just starting out. If they would have done Facebook gaming then, like even before Instagram, like then it would have been really, really popular at the time. But I think now, since Facebook is now very political and very focused on, like, a lot of the older crowd have now learned how to use Facebook. Now you have a lot of the younger crowd that would be interested in Facebook gaming have now jumped ship and gone to Instagram. Because I feel like Instagram is full of like teenagers to, numerous ages are on Instagram. So I do agree that the streaming would have been much better on Instagram just because
if they had partnered with Justin crowd. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But yeah, if they'd partnered with Justin TV back in the day and actually created basically Twitch out of that, you would have had a very different scope of power at this point. I agree with you.
And I think the only reason why YouTube hasn't fallen to that kind of an issue with doing YouTube gaming is because since YouTube is a content creating website, just like how you said Instagram would have been better because it's very visual, that's why YouTube gaming is probably going to still survive and be okay is because it's, like you said, very visual. And since there's so many people of so many different ages creating content on there, you can find something for yourself.
Yeah.
But like most people that will be interested in streaming don't check their Facebook. Like, I don't know how many people within my age group I talk to now are like, I only go on Facebook to talk to my aunts or update my older family members, because they're not on Instagram. They're not on anything else. And that's the only reason that they go on there. I mean, my own fiance is like, hey, don't try and message me on Facebook because I will never see it. I mean,
that's kind of why we stopped doing our agendas stuff on Facebook, is because a number of us were just not there anymore. I only keep my Facebook account primarily to talk with my mom's side of the family, and that's pretty much it, because they're not on anything else. But
I will say though that from what I saw today on like Twitter, a lot of people that were on Mixer whom have jumped to Twitch now, whom have just decided to completely just leave Mixer and have gone back to Twitch. A lot of them have now became Twitch affiliates, Twitch partners fairly quickly. Like Twitch immediately gave them an invitation. So it's like, I feel like Twitch is also using this opportunity to take a lot of those people that purely was on Mixer to now say, hey, like now you can be an affiliate with us. So that's not like they have to start over from scratch.
I will say,
like, hey,
because they smell the blood in the water.
Well, and on top of that, I will say also, just, I don't get a whole lot of traction on Twitch, but I know that a few of my followers on Mixer just basically moved over to Twitch and got subscriptions there, because I know that they didn't want to get YouTube. So at that point, like, I mean, that works out. I've even seen like a little bit more traffic via Twitch over the last few weeks.
And I see Ninja, he's probably going to go back to Twitch. I can't see him.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be like, I'd say probably a little bit of a tail between his legs kind of a thing, as him kind of sauntering back because of like him leaving Twitch to go to Mixer because of the amount of money they were giving him. But he's in like a win-win situation. He still made millions off that deal, and they still bought him out of that contract for him to do whatever he wants with it. Him and another guy, I believe, as well.
Shroud.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think he's going to be back on Twitch and back to doing what he usually does.
Yeah, because his brand's not really going to suffer, because, I mean, between his streams, he's also literally published books. It's a case where his brand isn't really hurting. I mean, the guy was on Masked Singer, for crying out loud. So
pretty much, yeah.
He's a cash cow. He's going to be a cash cow for any streaming site, and that's why Facebook Gaming at first wanted him, but he said no, because he probably knows Facebook Gaming is not going to exactly work out as well as they might think. Yeah. But, like, that's, it's a win-win.
Especially with all the bad PR surrounding Facebook as of late, I can see his standpoint, given that he's been very protective.
Yeah, the bad PR, like Twitch has bad PR, but nowhere near what Facebook has right now.
Yeah, so much so that it's been resulting in congressional review. That's how bad it's gotten. And I can see Ninja thinking, okay, what is going to be best for my brand? Oh, this website that is literally repeatedly being subpoenaed by Congress, or the website that made me famous in the first place? Yeah, Twitch, can you take me back?
Yeah, Twitch, I'll deal with your dear girl. I'll come back to Twitch. Yeah, I'm going to keep making fun of her, because so many things wrong with how she wants to do things. But unfortunately, we need to kind of wrap this up. So, Alex, any final thoughts for Mixer?
Yeah, I'm not too surprised Mixer didn't last long. I mean, frankly, if throwing money at a bunch of high-profile streamers wasn't going to save it, then nothing was. So, I think it's just the market's been too carved. Twitch got there first, and it carved its niche because of the live streams, and YouTube kind of managed to follow in its wake a little bit. And YouTube obviously got there first with, everybody can make their own user-generated content for free. So the market's just too narrow at this point. I don't think anybody's really going to be able to rise up and compete, especially not Facebook.
No, I mean, the only closest competition I have seen, and even then it's more in a very roundabout way, has been Roku. And that's not even so much because Roku is facilitating it. It's more because it's actually really, really easy to create your own Roku channel. As long as you have a server that hosts your content, you can literally put up old streams and have people access it on Roku. And even then, like, And even then, there's even been some services on Roku that have been allowing people, like Pluto TV has kind of been trying to experiment a little bit.
Sling has a lot of good contracts with Roku. Twitch doesn't, because for some reason they don't want to actually invest in a worthwhile app for it.
Well,
but...
it's mainly because Roku is a direct competitor with Amazon Fire. That's why.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on into the next story, which is going to wrap things up for the night. So really quick, this is a story that has been on our docket for, I want to say, since March or February, something like that. And we just haven't been able to cover it because, you know, we've had other stories to be able to cover. We've had slow news weeks. We've had other things going on. We had a freaking quarantine happen and other priorities.
An earthquake.
And everybody losing their respective shit out there. So
yeah, and the murder hornets. Can't forget the murder hornets. Everyone else has.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
I will never forget the murder hornets.
That's for
Thanks,
July.
Romney.
That's for July. July is the dogs and cats part. We don't read ahead in the script.
You guys will need to I need to apologize because I need to go smack Romney for bringing up the murder hornets. Now I'm not sleeping tonight. That was more scary to me than COVID, was the murder hornets.
Well, I mean, there's a theory that a time traveler keeps trying to fix 2020, but it keeps making it worse, which is why stuff keeps escalating. Yeah. That's why the murder hornets disappeared. They got rid of the murder hornets, but they couldn't get rid of anything else.
No. So Arcade 1-Up. A lot of people know their arcade cabinets. They've been fairly successful over the last few years. Enough so that 2020 is going to be a big year for them, as they are basically expanding the cabinets that they have done originally. A lot of the stuff that they've done has been more of a traditional sense. For example, like the Street Fighter 2 cabinet. They have expanded a little bit with the Ninja Turtles cabinet, where they can do they can do like a 4-player kind of cabinet. But this year, they're pulling out the stops. They're actually going to try and do a number of other cabinets, including, which a friend of the podcast is actually very excited for, as he runs a pinball podcast. They're expanding into pinball. They're actually going to do pinball tables now. They're starting things off with a modern Marvel-looking one, but they're also trying to acquire the rights to be able to do a lot of classic pinball tables that have earned a lot of popularity over the years. One of which I've heard that they're trying to get the rights to is the Rocky pinball table that got showcased in the movie. I think it was Rocky 4 that they showcased it.
It was probably Rocky 4.
Probably
that
Rocky 4.
That was when the franchise was getting really weird.
And that's when they had Dolph Lundgren, and things went really weird.
Dolph Lundgren's the least weird part of that movie. I mean, literally, Rocky bought Paulie a frickin' robot.
He did, in fact, buy him a robot. I completely forgot about that. We have this Marvel one, and then they're going to do a couple of other ones, so they're going to expand into pinball. But it doesn't end there. This is actually one that I'm kind of excited about, as they're going to be doing a Big Buck Hunter cabinet, which is basically a gun cabinet. So you can actually do gun games, and there's talk that they're working out the deals to be able to do something. Alex, you'll need to contain yourself. A House of the Dead cabinet. Oh, no excitement out of that? No excitement out of that?
No, sadly.
So, really quick, I want to go over the innovations really quick, and then we also have another big one that specifically Romney and me need to comment on. But let me just kind of go over this with you guys. So they did the Turtles cabinet. They've also done, like, the Marvel Superheroes cabinet. They have done a Star Wars home arcade game cabinet. 2 versions. The stand-up version and the sit-down version. And already that has gotten people asking, are you going to do vehicle ones in the sit-down form so you do things like Afterburner? I don't know about that, but they've at least said with Star... And I think they've also worked out a deal to do the Star Wars arcade game. So the trilogy one.
Well, I can see it somewhat working with that trilogy one because
it's
not that difficult to reprogram and get it to run on that particular type of cabinet, provided you have the controller for it. But even then, kind of tricky because you would basically be limiting it to more or less one game, which, technically it covers the 3 movies, but it's one of those cases
I think the bigger part that people are excited about is that it would be a sit-down cabinet like the Trilogy Arcade one is.
Which technically all of the cabinets Arcade 1-Up sells are sit-down cabinets. I mean, they do
Yes.
sell risers you can put underneath them to get them to standing height, but they are designed to be sit-down cabinets.
They are
because
designed that way, yeah.
Most of the people who would be buying them don't have the greatest knees or lower backs.
So we also have the Frogger cabinet, which is basically, this is part of their whole retro gaming campaign. They wanted to bring back a lot of the classic arcade games into cabinets, and so Frogger was one of the first ones where they did that. They also did NBA Jam, for crying out loud. So this is the next 4-player one. And then we also have Pac-Man and Burger Time. Those are the other retro ones that they've done. Alex will be happy about this because another 4-player one is Golden Axe. So Golden Axe is back there. And they also have Miss Pac-Man. But, well, let's go ahead and go over these because the next one is again, for more me and Romney. It looks like they are expanding into other different types of cabinets. And so one of the questions that we did get is, what do we feel about that? Like, it does look like they're going to be slightly more expensive, which kind of everybody expected. Even the pinball tables are looking kind of a little bit more expensive. Do we like that Arcade 1-Up is doing this, that they're expanding into these markets?
Well, I mean, it's honestly no surprise. I mean, let's face it. Buying an arcade machine is basically a gamer equivalent of a midlife crisis where someone buys a motorcycle. I
only disagree with you because I want one.
Yeah, that says more about you than me.
yeah, probably. Probably. Midlife crisis away! All right.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where, yeah, there's a niche for it. Clearly people want it, and trying to get original arcade machines has gotten increasingly hard because the parts needed to maintain them, especially if you get one of those old Sega ones with the infamous suicide battery. It's one of those cases where, yeah, it's a niche. They're filling it. That's fine. I personally have no reason to buy any of them because I don't have the space. I rather would just be able to play the games on the consoles that I have already.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. Like, I would love to be able to have these things, but I would love to have them in an office environment, like where I have a lot more to work with, because then at that point I'd have a couple of them next to each other. Because, I mean, a couple of these cabinets look really, really cool. One I actually considered buying was the Final Fight cabinet, because it included 2 games that I absolutely love to play on arcade, 1944 and the original Strider. And so at that point, I would have loved to have done that. But I do like the fact that, you know, they are considering the gun cabinets. I know a lot of people have been screaming for, like, the Terminator arcade game to be done by Arcade 1-Up, House of the Dead. The Lethal Enforcers is the other one that's a big gun cabinet. So at that point, I'm happy that they're doing it. I'm happy that they're expanding into it, especially with pinball tables. Because there are some pinball aficionados that have been really disappointed up until now that they haven't done anything with the tables. So, Shay, Alex, your take on it.
It's interesting, but I'll never be able to afford an arcade cabinet.
Well, and where would you put it right now?
Yeah.
That's
right now, certainly.
I mean,
it sounds cool.
Shay's got an apartment. She's got somewhere she could put it, but at the same time...
No, I don't.
Oh, really?
I don't.
Okay.
I have no room.
You guys filled it up already?
We just got a kitty. There's nothing more.
All right.
Yeah, honestly,
we have an animal.
There's nowhere in my house.
Yeah, honestly, the only way I could see myself buying it is if I were to start a business where I just bought a whole bunch of these, and then basically just had basically set up an arcade where instead of paying to play each game like an arcade, it'd be like, okay, you pay and you get to play.
Which funniest thing, I've heard people are considering that. Like they're basically going to do the model of like Galloping Ghosts in Chicago, I believe, where you basically pay an admission fee and then you play for free.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that working, especially since those machines are a lot easier to maintain and repair whenever there's any damages or spills. And so if I had the kind of money to literally lease out a place, that would be what I would do. Is I would buy as many of these machines, set them all saying, okay, you pay an admission fee, you get to play these games as much as you want. Just don't break the machines, don't kill each other, and just let people, play, like let actually rotate out, especially if you've got the huge crowds playing the various fight games.
Well, yeah, and that's what Galloping Ghost does, is like they rotate out, can like they have fighting game tournaments, things like that, so they rotate the fighting games up to the front and then they take them back. So that's actually a good idea for arcades. So at that point, you know, it doesn't get too old seeing the exact same placement.
I can see this at a job place. Like
oh,
if you have
absolutely.
kind of like a regular, like if you work for a tech company and they have that kind of like disposable income to just have a game system just there for you to play like an arcade system, I could see that.
Yeah.
You know, but at someone's house, I would number one think you're either you got to be real rich if you got this in your house.
Well, I mean, I kind of disagree, but and only in this
Not
aspect.
rich, but,
like there are basically arcade rats. They grew up in the arcades. They spent most of their time there. So like Maximilian Dude would be one of them. He would have a bunch of these in his garage, and it makes sense for him to have them there.
Yeah,
because he lived in the arcades. But for me, I grew up with console gaming. It's cool to be able to play on these original cabinets from time to time, but it would be like one of those things where I'd put it off in the distance and probably just use it as decoration.
Yeah.
So
again, midlife crisis.
I'm old. So I don't know how else to say it.
It's weird because I could really see someone buying this for like their dad who's played cabinet games a lot.
You know what?
I'm just saying, like, it would be like a Father's Day gift for someone who like dad has that kind of space. Like, just off in the corner.
Confession here. I actually did offer my older brother, who was kind of an arcade rat. He actually did play a lot of the fighting games in the arcades because at that point there was people forget there was a long gap between Street Fighter releasing on Super Nintendo and it coming out in arcade. So at that point he was kind of that, and I did offer one year to buy him the Street Fighter Champion Edition one because he loved the original Street Fighter 2, and so that would have been a worthwhile purchase, but you know, we decided against it because he had no room. That's the funniest thing. That's the funniest thing. All the people that I know locally, they have no room for it. But if you can get like an office space or a break room, you put it in there.
Yeah.
Just watch. This will become the new equivalent of the ping pong table or foosball table that every office will put in to lull their employees into a false sense of security.
Yes, and even some offices will actually have like high score tournaments, and you get like a gift card to Applebee's or something like that.
Further methods to pacify you, so that way you just continue doing the mind-numbing work as your soul slowly drifts away from your body. No, I'm not bitter. Not at all.
Not at all. And now Shay feels bad for you, Robbie.
I'm sorry.
Well, again, you don't need to feel bad. My student loans are paid off, thankfully, because it just took 3 years of soul-crushing office work.
Oh, mine's not paid off. I'm not in that boat. I wish.
I kind of am not in that boat either. Mine are almost paid off, but
yeah, same, almost.
But I also wasn't. I didn't walk away with that much student loan debt. So at that point, I'm at least happy about that. So let's get into the meat of this, Romney, really quick, because 2 other arcade cabinets have been announced by Arcade 1UP, and people are very excited about them. First of all, you have the X-Men vs. Street Fighter cabinet, which will include X-Men vs. Street Fighter, obviously. Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of the Superheroes, so the first game. X-Men Children of the Atom, and X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. And then also, and I think this is kind of redundant personally, there will be a Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of the Superheroes cabinet as well, which that one I would love to own because I love MVC really a lot. But that will include Marvel Superheroes War of the Gems, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, obviously, and Marvel vs. Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. So a lot of repeats in there, but specifically people wanted to ask our thoughts on, there's been a lot of Marvel Arcade 1UP cabinets and a lot of Capcom stuff. Do we feel like this might be an announcement for something?
I doubt it. Knowing where things are, and especially the utter abysmal performance of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I don't think Capcom's ready to go back into the Marvel vs. range just yet. Although they probably are more eager to now that Disney owns Fox, which means that, hey, we can use the X-Men again. You know, the very characters that started this whole thing that they tried to force out of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. But again, the well's more or less been poisoned. And again, with how Capcom has been burned by that and Street Fighter V in its early days, I don't see it. Not unless Disney / Marvel are going to pony up most of the money. I just see this as more a coincidence of Capcom saying, "Oh yeah, you want to release this? Yeah, sure." Most I can see of any sort of announcement would be them saying, "Hey, we're going to re-release these games on like Switch or
well." And
PS4
the other
or
thing
Xbox
I think
One.
also needs to be considered here is, yeah, sure, you got Marvel vs. Capcom 1. What about 2?
Yeah, 2's the one people care about.
2
And
is
again,
the cabinet that people would want.
Yep, and so that would be the most I would see is maybe Capcom thinking, okay, we were able to renegotiate, we're gonna re-release these games on like digital only. That would be the only announcement I could see, but even then, that's
I thought that was going to happen this year. And granted, we haven't hit the EVO event, so we haven't seen a lot of the big EVO announcements yet. I think they're going to be delayed. Yeah, I think they're going to get delayed until the finals of these tournaments.
Well, likely, but also the fact that the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournament was canceled because of the pandemic, because there's no way
to I thought they expanded it.
Do that online. No, they didn't. They canceled it because they're doing the online tournaments, and there is no online for Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
And see,
because they don't even have the PS3 version anymore.
Yeah, so at that point, if they were going to do this tournament, and then they announced, that would be the place where they would announce a Switch version, a PS4 version, and an Xbox One version, and just port over the MVC2 there from PS3 to PS4. That would be the way to do it, but now that they've canceled that, I don't know. I honestly think if they were going to do MVC, they do MVC2, gauge interest, and then at that point, talk to Disney and Marvel and see if they would be interested in a Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I don't know. I don't think that this is going to be highlighting anything. I think, in all honesty, if you... Go ahead. Sorry.
It would technically be Marvel vs. Capcom 5, because Infinite is technically 4, but it will probably have some other subtitle.
The FGC wants to call it 4, though. So
yeah, which honestly I can see Capcom doing it because again they did the same thing with Devil May Cry 5. DMC tanked, and so they then just brought out DMC 5. So I can see Capcom doing that.
Yeah, they could totally do it. But I would be much more in the camp if you are releasing because here's the thing: MVC's cabinet is loved, not as much as 2, and so at that point, I could see this a lot better if it was an MVC2 cabinet with Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, or Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which would be like the first ever modern game that has made it onto these cabinets. And then maybe you want to throw in like one of these other ones, like X-Men vs. Street Fighter, because it's kind of the origin of the Versus series.
Well, more than likely, they probably wouldn't do Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The way I would see it, they probably would do, if kind of considering the order, they would probably do Marvel Superheroes, then Marvel vs. like War of the Gems, then Marvel vs. Capcom, then Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah.
Or alternately, it would be a bundle of the Versus ones where you would start with X-Men vs. Street Fighter, then Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, then War of the Gems, then MVC 1, then MVC 2. Because that's the start of the Versus series. But this is putting way too much faith on Capcom, which, again, it really depends on whether or not Disney and Marvel are willing to renegotiate. But considering that they're dealing more with Square Enix as of late, with Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Avengers, I don't really see it happening anytime soon unless we're in for some sort of an upset. I can see maybe Marvel deciding, hey, let's maybe negotiate that deal. We haven't been able to release any of our movies. We need some good news for our shareholders.
Pretty much. But I should also bring up this concept because I think our live chat with Jiro the Hero has brought up a very interesting point, is that Arcade 1-Up is not looking in the proper direction to be able to do any of this stuff. They've been working way too much with Capcom. They need to now look in the Konami direction and start working on pachinko cabinets.
Yeah, problem is that would only work in Japan, but even then, like they literally do sell pachinko games for home consoles. But
and here's the thing too: there are enough Konami fans that are pissed in the States that if you announce that, they would stop buying cabinets. Like they don't want these things. They are mad at Konami for doing that.
Yeah, and honestly, the other factor is that Konami at this point is no longer a game developer. They are basically a gambling machine, like, because they make more money with gambling, and that's the whole reason people play pachinko. Because
the only way that they're considering games is if they can go mobile and they can do microtransactions and all that. That's all that they're considering.
Yep. And so again, the pachinko thing, without being able, it's like buying a slot machine in your home. What's the point?
Pretty much. All right, well, we got to wrap it up there, but I think we pretty much answered the question. Like, it would be great if they had something like that in the works, but you'd have to give a much bigger investment to be able to convince me that that was the direction that they were going. And I don't think Arcade 1-Up is privy to anything that is happening between Marvel or Capcom at this point. That would be... I think that would be beneath them, honestly, because I think all they do is they call up the companies and go, can we get the rights for this? Okay, and then they do it. So let's go ahead and get into our last bit of business for the evening, which is, if people remember, we have a Geek News movie night coming up, people. We're going to be doing a summer one with the theme being anime movies that aren't part of franchises. So at that point, I've already done my announcement with Yoshifumi Kondo's Whispers of the Heart. Up next, let's hear Stephen Romney's suggestion for Geek News movie night.
Well, this one was a bit of a narrow choice, and what ultimately decided it was basically which one was available on a streaming service that everyone would be able to access. And fortunately, this one is available on High Dive. Now, I'm gonna make a bit of a statement. It is part of a franchise. However, this franchise has not had a television anime series. It has only had 2 films in this franchise, but is based on a long-running series of novels, so I feel it satisfies the requirements. And that film that is my recommendation is directed by Toyo Ashida, and that is the 1985 adaptation of Vampire Hunter D.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I guess the first question that we have to ask is, Alex, does it qualify?
I'm satisfied.
All right. I'm actually kind of excited about that because I love myself some Vampire Hunter D, and I think it's also on Retro Crush, isn't it?
It's on Retro Crush, but you can also watch it on High Dive.
All right, so we have Vampire Hunter D, and now we've got to go to the runner-up here. She was this close to winning against Alex. Shay, what is your suggestion for Geek News Movie Night?
So, my suggestion is... Well, I went back and forth.
Okay.
Up to this very moment. So there's 2 choices. The Weathering. No, there's 2 choices.
Okay.
Oh God.
I think this is gonna break her, Alex.
It is.
All right.
I think I have to go with one of my. You know what? I'm gonna go with A Silent Voice.
A Silent Voice. Okay. I was kind of worried that this was going to get brought up, but...
Funny enough, that was my first pick.
Shay, how could you? You removed his!
No, I already removed it before Shay, because of the recent podcast we did.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one if it gets picked again. Because Shay doesn't know this. I recently did a podcast with Alex as well as his buddy C Tactics on watching A Silent Voice, and it didn't work out so well. At least not for Alex. It didn't work out so well.
So, I mean, I can choose a different movie. It's fine.
No. It's if that's what you want it to be, that's fine. Like this is your call as long as Alex approves it.
Yep, that's good by me.
All right, so A Silent Voice. And we're going to wait on the returning champion, Alex's suggestion, until, unfortunately, not next week, because next week is July 4th weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and say we're probably not going to be doing a podcast that week. But then we will, the following week, do Alex's suggestion, and then we will get together to decide how we are going to do Geek News Movie Night. But... before I wrap up the podcast, I did promise that I was going to at least ask this. We've had a listener question in regards to this. Would we ever consider doing the recording of Geek News Movie Night via Discord. So on our Discord server, but not necessarily live streamed to YouTube. I've already said that as long as it's not live streamed to YouTube, or because I want to make it RSS exclusive, guys. That's just the bottom line of it. But if we recorded it live on Discord, that doesn't harm anything. So I'm not necessarily against that if we wanted to do it, but I want to at least ask you guys, because you guys are participating in it, do you have a problem with doing a live recording via Discord that given night of whatever movie gets picked?
Well, I'm fine.
I'm good.
I like the exclusivity of that because it really does motivate people to get onto the Discord server. So then at that point they can interact with us as well as be able to see what we thought of the movie firsthand, and then eventually it'll go out to the RSS feed. So I think that overall will work. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good idea, but we'll need to figure that out because we might need to work out either a podcast day or something, because July is just busy for a lot of people. So at that point, we might have to work out maybe taking a podcast night and recording it that way. I don't know. I'll have to talk to you guys about it off camera. But in the meantime, though, let's go ahead and wrap this up for the evening. So with the stories that we have covered, if people want to reach out to us and ask questions about the stories that we covered, as well as maybe our opinions on other stories, Alex the Shadow Blazer, how do they do that with you?
Shadow Blazer 3000 is my channel on YouTube, and I do anime reviews there. I did one just last week. I'm going to try and pump one out again this weekend. We'll see how it goes. And I'm on Twitter. I always blast out announcements of when I get a new video up there, so you can follow me on Twitter at AlexJShort.
All right. And Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, how do people get a hold of you?
You can find me under my handle, Studio Ghost Utah. That is my handle on YouTube, Facebook, and SoundCloud. I upload content to all three when I actually have content to upload, when I'm not up to my eyeballs in extra work. And you can also find me on Instagram if you want to see a more personal side and more activist side of me, and that is under Romney Does Art. And if you want to interact with me directly, even though I'm not particularly good at going on this platform as of late, for reasons I will get into in a little bit, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Romney Reviews. And as for this week's Romney's recommendation, given the events of the past few weeks and the period of social unrest that has been occurring in our country, I've been making a conscious effort to educate myself about the way our history classes tend to teach things. And while some of the books that have been recommended to me have been really hard to get a hold of, mainly because I don't want to give Jeff Bezos any more money, one book I am going to recommend is a good starting point if, like me, you're starting to question everything you've been taught up until now. And that is the classic book, Lies My Teacher Told Me, by James W. Lowen. What this is that James Lowen took 12 of the most used textbooks, the most used history textbooks in the United States for their history curriculum, and basically broke down how a lot of it prevents a very hyper-patriotic, slanted view of history that is far removed from fact. And so for those of you who are wanting to get a better understanding of our nation's real history and not the sanitized, sanded down version that has been taught in our schools, this is a good starting point. So that is this week's recommendation.
Okay. So Shay, as the guest, you're going next. If people want to reach out and check out your content, how do they do that?
Yeah, you can actually check me out on my YouTube, which is youtube.com/ShayTari. And I post videos on there usually 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. I do mostly like anime discussions and like anime and manga reviews, and just talk about any nerdy stuff I can kind of find out about and that I find interesting to discuss.
Yeah, we kind of got into it earlier today because you're looking into the comment section and considering doing a follow-up video on your Sakura versus Orihime video.
Yeah, I made a video like about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, about how I said basically the title is who was more useless, Orihime or Sakura, and people were not very happy with what I had to say. So
yeah, I took a look at your comment section. Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
It's pretty brutal. People really didn't like what I had to say, to the point where it was like name calling was involved, and I'm like, not nice names either.
Oh yeah, I think you got straight up mudslinging in your comment section. It was Oh,
Yeah.
it was a thing.
Yeah, so I'm planning, hopefully that video should be out Monday. I'm planning to record it probably tomorrow about an update on that, and kind of definitely addressing a lot of people's comments and a lot of the things that a lot of people kind of brought up, and kind of discussing it a little bit more, and if my thoughts have changed. And as of right now, my thoughts have not changed. It's still kind of the same, but yeah, I plan to do an update video just because I'm constantly getting updates on comments on that video. I was like, every day I'm like, okay, who's talking now?
Yeah, I've noticed that when people put videos up like that, especially anime videos, you'll get a lot of commentary, and in some cases bring in some undue attention to it. Because I think I saw somebody actually putting a comment in there. I can't remember if it was there or another video. How you completely brushed over Hinata, who they considered to be the more useless between Hinata and Sakura. So it would have been a better battle to do Hinata versus Orihime.
Yeah, I plan to discuss that too, because I even talked about this with my fiance, and I said the main reason why I didn't discuss Hinata is because I feel like Hinata's more of a supporting character because she's not there at the beginning compared to like Sakura, and Orihime is there at the beginning at the entirety of Bleach, and that was why I compared her more to Sakura than I did to Hinata, because Hinata's kind of, she's there and then she's gone. She's kind of like, you know who she is, but I feel like she was more comparable to Sakura. But I do agree that Hinata and Orihime have very similar personalities. But as far as their length in the show, Sakura and Orihime are definitely more comparable than Orihime and Hinata.
Yeah, that's not it's a difficult comparison. But I think that this is actually kind of spurred forth, like we did that unpopular opinions in anime stream a while back, and while we do actually have an idea to do an unpopular opinions in video games very soon, we might need to do something about this, like unpopular women in anime, or I don't know. We'll need to work out the details, but this sounds to me like something that needs to be done.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot there.
Yeah, I know. Even with this second video, I feel like people are still not gonna like it. So at this point, it's just like, I just want to do a second one just to clear up some of the comments that people are saying.
Pretty much.
And explain reasons why.
All right. And so if people want to be able to get a hold of me, the best way to be able to do so, if you want to ask questions or talk to me, is my Twitter, which is Drac2326. And the exact same headline is my Instagram account, where you will find pictures of me working. I've been doing now a lot of that since I just barely started up working again, and have been really proud of myself, considering I've been out of the workforce for quite a while, and it hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be. I've also been doing a lot of pictures of random geek memes that I love, fart jokes, my kids, because, I'm a dad. I like being able to take corny pictures of my kids. It's always fun to be able to humiliate them, at least to some extent. But those are the ways to be able to get a hold of me. If you want to be able to get a hold of the podcast, the first thing that we ask you guys do is support the RSS feed, which is geekynro.libsyn.com, where you will get all of the content that we provide in that RSS feed. I haven't technically made these announcements yet, but you might actually see a lot of stuff getting added to the Geek News RSS feed, including possibly moving things like Why We Geek into that RSS feed, because I just don't see a reason to not include that and do episodes that way, including these unpopular opinions ones. As long as Shay's okay with that, we might move those into the RSS feed. There's lots of stuff for you to be able to get in there, and it's not necessarily just Geek News. We're doing all of these other shows that you can enjoy as well. If you want to be able to join us live, we do stream live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook every Friday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. So you guys can join us live as we make these jokes, and also you can join us a half hour earlier for the pre-show, where we can talk to you guys and be able to talk about the stories that we have, and maybe even the stories that didn't make the cut for that given podcast. Or, and I'm actually debating this concept, maybe even doing it tonight, also possibly doing a post-show. Because for some reason, some of these nights when I do the podcast, I have way too much adrenaline in my system, and I need to go knock it out. And so at that point, I can easily do a post show for you guys to be able to just shoot the shit until I get tired, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm debating that concept. Feel free to leave your feedback on that. But you can join us live every Friday night unless we have something going, and then we will let you know on our social media, which can be found under the exact same tagline, Geeky NRO, on Facebook and Twitter, where you'll get up to the minute information on when we're going live, the stuff we're going to be talking about. Also, if we're not going to be able to make it, also any stories that maybe don't make the cut, you can be able to have the discussion there. You can also join us on our Discord server, where if you guys want an invite, go ahead and send an email over to geekyweek@gmail.com, and I will make sure to get an invite link over to you, and you can join us on the Discord server where we might actually start having some exclusive content there as well. And then also, if you guys want to submit stories to us or be able to give feedback on the podcast, because we really do appreciate it, you can reach out to us at geekyweek@gmail.com. And that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. I thank everybody so much for being able to join us. The live chat has been amazing. I've already seen that Jiro the Hero has approved Shay's choice, which is what we actually needed to have happen, although he didn't approve Romney's choice. I don't know what that means for Romney. But hey, we'll run with it. But thank you to the live chat. Thank you, obviously, to Romney and Alex for joining us. And also special thanks to Shay Tari for joining us once again. It is always fun to be able to have you here and be able to have some silly stories to talk about and also get everybody's mind off of the tensions that's been going on these last couple of weeks. Because heaven knows it's already been riding on my shoulders quite a bit. Oh, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I got a little freaked out there for a second. But yeah, thank you so much to Shay Tari as well as to my panelists. And we will be back, unfortunately not next week because the 4th of July weekend will be then. But we will be back the following week for even more geek news, reviews, and opinions. So for me, for Alex, for Shay, and for Romney, we will see you guys next time.